Welcome, dear listener. Before we begin our journey into the quiet, fading corners of the past, take a deep, gentle breath. Let the weight of the modern world slowly drift away from your shoulders. Tonight we are stepping backward in time, walking through the soft, pastel-tinted hallways of the 1950s. Imagine a room illuminated only by the warm, amber glow of a vintage vanity lamp. On the polished wooden table sits a heavy glass jar, its silver lid reflecting the dim light. When opened, it releases a faint, nostalgic scent of crushed rose petals and clean, powdery wax. This was the scent of an era where time seemed to move just a little bit slower, especially in the private, quiet moments before sleep. Have you ever wondered why certain beauty secrets from 70 years ago have completely vanished, while others quietly remain, hidden in plain sight on our modern vanity tables in the mid-20th century? Personal care was not just a quick task rushed through before running out the door. It was an art form. It was a dedicated ritual of patience, discipline, and self-respect. Tonight we are not just exploring historical facts, we are rediscovering a forgotten philosophy of mindfulness. We will gently uncover the routines that shaped the daily lives of millions, separating the grand promises of early advertising from the simple, timeless habits that genuinely worked and still work today. As the night grows darker and the room grows quieter, let your mind drift into the soft cadence of history. In the 1950s, the world was changing rapidly. The post-war economy was booming, and factories that once made wartime supplies were now spinning out synthetic fabrics, colourful plastics, and an endless array of cosmetics. Yet, despite the rush of the new world, women and men held tightly to traditions passed down by their mothers and grandmothers. It was a unique collision of old-world wisdom and new-world science. The local drugstore, with its neon sign and polished soda fountain counter, became a sanctuary of transformation. Rows of neatly arranged jars promised eternal youth, smooth skin, and perfect elegance. But away from the flashing lights of the advertisements, inside the quiet homes, the reality of beauty was much more grounded, sensible, and deeply comforting. We will look at how everyday people navigated this changing landscape, finding comfort in repetitive, soothing evening routines that prepared both the body and the mind for rest. So, get comfortable beneath your blankets. Let your eyes grow heavy and allow the soothing atmosphere of the past to envelop you as we begin our gentle exploration of these forgotten secrets. The channel Sleepy History with Benedict is a storytelling platform created for entertainment, inspiration, education, and the promotion of positive emotional values. As the world outside grew quiet in the evening of a 1950s household, the true ritual of beauty began. It did not start with a dozen-step routine or complex chemical serums. Instead, it almost always began with a single, iconic product that sat prominently on every woman's dressing table: cold cream. To understand the magic of this cream, one must understand the environment of the time. Cities were thick with the soot of coal fires and the exhaust of newly popular automobiles. A day spent outside meant a layer of invisible dust and heavy wax-based makeup would settle onto the skin. Washing with harsh, ordinary hand soap was known to leave the face tight, dry, and irritated. Thus, cold cream was the ultimate saviour, acting as both a deep cleanser and a soothing balm. Imagine holding that heavy milk glass jar in your hands. The lid unscrews with a satisfying metallic click. Inside lies a thick snow-white emulsion of water, beeswax, and mineral oils, lightly scented with rosewater or soft violet. The term cold cream comes from the immediate, cooling sensation felt on the skin as the water slowly evaporates from the emulsion. A woman would take a generous dollop of this cream on her fingertips and begin to massage it onto her face, using gentle upward and outward circular motions. This was not a rushed process. It was a deliberate, mindful massage that served a dual purpose. It melted away the stubborn, waterproof foundations and rich lipsticks of the era, while simultaneously stimulating blood circulation and relaxing the tired muscles of the face after a long day of maintaining a perfect expression. The act of applying cold cream was a sensory transition from the public gaze to private comfort. The fingers would trace the line of the jaw, move softly over the cheekbones, and sweep across the forehead, smoothing away the tension lines of the day. In the 1950s, beauty guides constantly reminded readers that beauty was directly tied to serenity. Stress and hurry were considered the greatest enemies of a clear complexion. Therefore, these minutes spent with cold cream were treated almost like a form of meditation. The heavy, greasy texture of the cream required time to work its way into the pores, forcing the individual to slow down, stand still before the mirror, and simply breathe. Once the cream had thoroughly bonded with the makeup and impurities, it was not rinsed off with splashing water. Instead, it was gently wiped away using soft cotton pads, or more commonly fine linen cloths and specialized facial tissues that were heavily marketed during the decade. As the cloth swept across the skin, it took with it all the burdens of the day, leaving behind a thin, protective film of moisture. To a modern observer, leaving oil on the skin might seem counterintuitive, but in the 1950s, this residual moisture was the secret to the coveted, plump, dewy look that defined youthful health. The skin was left incredibly soft, clean, and shielded against the dry air of the nighttime bedroom. But the evening routine did not stop at the surface of the skin. As the tissue was tossed away, revealing a fresh, bare face, the gaze would naturally shift upward in the mirror, focusing on the crowning glory of mid-century styling, the hair. For a woman in the 1950s, her hair was an architectural masterpiece that required constant preservation and nighttime discipline, leading to practices that have largely vanished today, yet hold a strange, comforting logic of their own. With the face properly cleansed and glowing under the warm light of the vanity lamp, the next phase of the evening ritual began. It was a practice deeply rooted in tradition, passed down through generations long before the invention of modern hair serums and artificial sprays. This was the legendary rule of the 100 brush strokes. Today, in our fast-paced world, the idea of sitting down to brush one's hair 100 times sounds impractical, perhaps even tedious. But in the quiet spaces of a 1950s evening, it was a cherished habit, a rhythmic and hypnotic dance that signaled to the mind that the day was truly drawing to a close. The instrument of choice was not a cheap plastic comb, but a heavy, beautifully crafted hairbrush with natural boar bristles. These bristles were specifically valued because their structure closely mimicked human hair, allowing them to gently catch the natural oils produced by the scalp, known as sebum. In the 1950s, women did not wash their hair every day. Doing so was considered highly detrimental, as it would strip away the hair's natural vitality and leave it dry, brittle, and impossible to style. Instead, hair was washed perhaps once a week, or once every fortnight. To keep the hair clean, shiny, and smelling fresh in between washes, the daily brushing routine was absolutely essential. Imagine the soothing sound of the brush moving through the strands, a soft, rhythmic whisper repeating over and over in the quiet room. A woman would lean forward, flipping her hair over her head, and begin brushing from the nape of the neck down to the very tips. This action encouraged blood flow to the scalp, nourishing the hair follicles at the root. Then, sitting upright, she would sweep the brush from the hairline backward. With each long, deliberate stroke, the natural oils were drawn down from the scalp, where they tended to accumulate, and distributed evenly along the dry ends of the hair shaft. This created a natural protective barrier that sealed in moisture and gave the hair that signature healthy sheen so recognizable in mid-century photographs. This repetitive motion had a profoundly calming effect on the nervous system. The gentle mechanical stimulation of the scalp acted as a soft massage, releasing the mental tension accumulated from managing household responsibilities or workplace demands. Each stroke of the brush was like a tick of a grandfather clock, measuring out time in a slow, peaceful cadence. As the hair grew smoother, detangled and soft under the brush, the mind too began to untangle itself from the worries of the day. It was a moment of pure, uninterrupted self-care, performed not for the eyes of the public, but for personal comfort and well-being. Once the 100 strokes were complete, the hair hung in a glossy, vibrant cloud around the shoulders, perfectly prepared for the next step. For the modern woman of the 1950s, leaving the hair loose during sleep was simply out of the question. To protect the smooth texture and ensure that the elaborate hairstyles of the era would look immaculate the following morning, the hair had to be carefully secured, pinned, and protected. This required a level of architectural patience and small, everyday tools that became an indelible symbol of the mid-century bedroom. With the natural oils beautifully distributed throughout the hair, it was time to construct the structural foundation for the next day's style. In the 1950s, bouncy, perfectly sculpted curls and smooth waves were the standard of everyday elegance. Achieving this look without the convenience of modern heated curling irons meant that the transformation had to happen overnight while the body slept. This led to the widespread use of pin curls and soft sleeping rollers, a meticulous craft that required nimble fingers and a great deal of patience. A woman would sit before her mirror, dividing her hair into small, precise sections. Using a fine-toothed comb, she would smooth each section, dampen it slightly with water or a specialized setting lotion that smelled faintly of sweet almonds, and wrap it smoothly around her fingers to form a neat, flat circle against her scalp. 2 metal hairpins, crossed in an X shape, would secure the curl flat against the head. For longer hair, soft mesh rollers or flexible pink rubber curlers were used instead, section by section, row by row. The entire head was transformed into a pattern of neat coils. This process was done with an artistic eye, as the angle and direction of each pin curl determined how the hair would fall and frame the face the next morning. Once the entire head was pinned, a final, essential step was required to protect this delicate architecture from the friction of the pillow. A soft, lightweight scarf, often made of silk, chiffon, or fine nylon, was carefully draped over the curls and tied neatly at the forehead or the nape of the neck. This colourful hair wrap became the defining silhouette of the mid-century bedtime routine. It ensured that no matter how much a sleeper tossed and turned during the night, the pins would stay in place and the hair would not frizz or tangle. The physical sensation of sleeping with a head full of pins and rollers is something many modern individuals would find uncomfortable, yet women of the era adapted to it as a natural part of their evening. It represented a quiet commitment to the morning, a physical manifestation of hope for the day to come. As the heavy vanity lamp was finally clicked off, leaving the room in darkness, the scent of cold cream and setting lotion hovered in the air, creating a cocoon of comfort as sleep finally arrived. The structure was set, the preparation was complete, and the long, slow hours of the night would quietly do the work of shaping beauty from the past into the morning light. All stories on this channel, Sleepy History with Benedict, are fictional, thoughtfully crafted around historical themes and inspired by real events, figures and periods, reimagined for engaging storytelling. The content does not represent real individuals, actual events, or documented cases. Any resemblance to real people, animals, or events is purely coincidental. As the soft golden light of dawn began to filter through the lace curtains of a 1950s bedroom, the transition from rest to readiness began. The morning did not start with a sudden, stressful leap out of bed. Instead, vintage beauty manuals and home magazines of the era highly recommended a gradual, peaceful awakening. It was believed that waking up too abruptly could startle the nervous system, leading to a tired complexion and premature wrinkles. Before the feet even touched the cold wooden floor, a series of gentle stretching exercises was performed under the warmth of the covers, slowly waking up the muscles and encouraging deep, restorative breathing. Once out of bed, one of the most fascinating and forgotten morning habits of the mid-century would take place. If you look closely at advertisements and wellness guides from the 1950s, you will frequently find mentions of an item called the slant board. This was a long padded wooden board angled downward so that when a person lay upon it, their feet were elevated higher than their head. Women were advised to spend 10 to 15 minutes every morning resting on this inversion board. The underlying philosophy was beautifully simple. By tilting the body, gravity would gently pull the blood flow downward toward the scalp and the face, flushing the skin with a natural, healthy supply of oxygen and nutrients. Imagine lying in that quiet morning room, the house still asleep around you, resting at a gentle incline. Your eyes are closed, your arms are relaxed at your sides, and you can feel the slow, warm rush of circulation returning to your face. This practice was considered a natural facelift, a way to erase the puffiness of sleep and bring a vibrant, rosy glow to the cheeks without relying on heavy makeup. It was a moment of complete physical stillness before the busy demands of the day commenced. In our modern world, where we constantly stand or sit upright, looking down at screens, this simple practice of elevating the feet and letting blood flow to the head holds a surprisingly effective logic for both physical relaxation and skin health. After this quiet period of inversion, the silk scarf wrapped around the hair was finally untied. The metal pins and soft rollers were carefully extracted one by one, allowing the tightly coiled hair to drop down in structured, glossy springs. Using the natural boar-bristle brush once more, or a wide-toothed comb dipped in a tiny amount of pomade, the curls were gently brushed out. Miraculously, the tight coils transformed into smooth, voluminous waves that bounced softly with every movement. This morning transformation was a source of great personal satisfaction, a visual reward for the patience exercised the night before. If you're enjoying this peaceful journey into the past and finding comfort in these gentle stories, please take a brief moment to support the channel. Subscribe to Sleepy History with Benedict, leave a warm like on this video, and share your thoughts in the comments below. Your kind support helps us continue creating these tranquil spaces for your nightly rest. Let us now close our eyes again and drift deeper into the forgotten habits of this elegant era. Beyond the face and the hair, there was another part of the body that received immense care and attention during the 1950s, the hands. In an era before automated household appliances became universal, everyday chores required heavy physical labor. Washing dishes, scrubbing floors, and preparing meals from scratch were all done by hand, exposing the skin to harsh detergents, cold water, and rough surfaces. Yet the cultural standard of the time demanded that a woman's hands remain remarkably soft, smooth, and perfectly manicured. To balance these demanding realities, a highly structured regimen of hand care was woven directly into the fabric of daily life. The secret to maintaining beautiful hands did not lie in expensive, modern chemical barriers, but in simple time-tested home remedies and protective habits. One of the most common kitchen secrets was the use of fresh lemon juice and granulated sugar. After a long afternoon of gardening or food preparation, a mixture of these two ingredients would be rubbed gently between the palms. The natural fruit acids in the lemon acted as a gentle chemical exfoliant, breaking down stains from vegetables or soil, while the sugar crystals mechanically polished away rough, dead skin cells. Once rinsed away with lukewarm water, the hands were instantly brighter and smoother, ready for deep hydration. For intense moisture, the absolute staple of every mid-century medicine cabinet was a blend of rosewater and glycerine. This humble liquid was incredibly thick and humectant, meaning it possessed the unique ability to draw moisture from the air directly into the layers of the skin. A few drops of this thick elixir were massaged into the hands after every single washing, ensuring that the skin's natural moisture barrier was never left depleted. The sweet, comforting scent of roses, combined with the rich texture of the glycerine, created a soothing sensory experience that women looked forward to throughout their busy days. However, the true magic of mid-century hand care occurred late at night, just as the household fell completely silent. After performing the facial cleansing routine, a generous, almost excessive layer of heavy petroleum jelly or thick lanolin-based cream was applied to the hands. The cream was massaged deeply into the cuticles, the knuckles, and the palms until the skin could absorb no more. To prevent this heavy grease from smearing onto the bed sheets and to maximize its deep conditioning effects, a pair of thin white cotton gloves was slipped over the hands before sleeping. Imagine sliding your hands into those soft, breathable cotton gloves, feeling the warmth of your skin begin to heat the rich cream beneath. Throughout the long hours of the night, the gloves acted as an insulating mask, locking the moisture against the skin and allowing the healing ingredients to penetrate deeply without interruption. When the gloves were pulled off the next morning, the transformation was undeniable. Hands that had been rough, dry, and strained by labour the day before were completely restored, appearing silky, pale, and incredibly soft to the touch. This simple, quiet act of wearing overnight gloves is a perfect example of a 1950s habit that quietly still works today, providing unparalleled relief for tired, dry hands in our modern world. As we journey further into the evening habits of the 1950s, we find that personal care extended far beyond the vanity mirror. The bathroom, often decorated in soft pastel tiles of pink, mint green, or sky blue, became a private sanctuary at the end of a long, productive day. In this space, the ultimate indulgence was the evening bath. Unlike the quick, utilitarian showers of the modern era, a bath in the mid-20th century was treated as a therapeutic ritual, a deliberate method to soak away physical fatigue and mental anxiety before climbing into bed. Imagine the sound of warm water cascading into a deep porcelain tub, filling the small room with a thick, comforting cloud of steam. To the running water, a variety of simple yet highly effective ingredients would be added. One of the most popular choices found in every household pantry was humble baking soda, often combined with Epsom salts. This combination was highly praised by beauty editors of the time for its ability to soften hard bath water, soothe dry or itchy skin, and draw out the lactic acid buildup from tired muscles. The physical sensation of slipping into this silky alkaline water was immediately grounding, melting away the stiffness in the lower back and limbs. To elevate the experience into something truly luxurious, bath oils and bubble solutions were introduced, frequently scented with natural botanicals like pine, lavender, or old-fashioned carnation. Pine was particularly favoured in the autumn and winter months, as its crisp, resinous aroma cleared the senses and brought a feeling of clean, rustic freshness into the home. Lavender, on the other hand, was the undisputed queen of the evening bath, universally recognized for its scientifically proven ability to calm the central nervous system, lower the heart rate, and prepare the brain for deep, uninterrupted sleep. A person would soak in this warm, fragrant water for at least 20 minutes, letting the heat open the pores and relax the mind. There was a strict rule enforced by mid-century health advisors: the water must never be scalding hot, as extreme heat was believed to deplete the skin's natural oils and cause premature sagging. Instead, a comforting, warm temperature was maintained, allowing the body to slowly cool down afterward, which naturally triggers the body's internal biological clock to signal drowsiness. While soaking in the tub, a soft washcloth made of thick cotton terry cloth was used to gently massage the skin from the feet upward, always moving toward the heart to stimulate healthy lymphatic drainage. Once the bath was complete, the skin was not aggressively scrubbed dry with a towel. Instead, it was patted dry with gentle blotting motions, leaving a fine layer of moisture on the surface. Immediately following this, while the skin was still warm and highly receptive, a generous layer of body talc or scented dusting powder was applied using a large fluffy powder puff. This fine powder absorbed any remaining moisture, leaving the skin feeling incredibly silky, dry and cool beneath the heavy flannel or silk pajamas of the era, completing a circle of comfort that modern fast-paced routines have sadly left behind. As the body felt entirely clean and relaxed from the warm, fragrant bath, a person in the 1950s would turn their attention to an aspect of beauty that was considered just as important as smooth skin or styled hair: posture. In the mid-20th century, elegance was not merely skin-deep, it was defined by how a person carried themselves through the world. Good posture was viewed as a physical expression of self-discipline, grace, and inner health. Beauty manuals of the decade constantly reminded readers that a slouched spine or a dropped chin could ruin the effect of even the most expensive clothing and lead to a tired, aged appearance. To counteract the physical strain of sitting at an office desk or leaning over household chores, a series of gentle posture exercises was performed right before stepping into bed. One popular exercise involved standing perfectly flat against a bedroom wall, ensuring that the heels, calves, buttocks, shoulders, and the back of the head all made direct contact with the vertical surface. A person would hold this position for a few minutes, breathing deeply, allowing the spine to realign itself into its natural, elongated shape. This simple act helped train the muscle memory, making a tall, upright stance feel natural and effortless during the day. Another fascinating habit was the practice of lying flat on the floor with a small rolled-up towel placed directly beneath the small of the back and another under the neck. This gentle passive stretch allowed gravity to reverse the rounding of the shoulders caused by daily fatigue. As a person lay in this position in the quiet night, they would focus on slow, rhythmic chest breathing, expanding the ribcage and fully oxygenating the blood. It was believed that this practice not only preserved a youthful silhouette, but also improved digestion and internal circulation, which directly contributed to a bright, clear complexion. Even the way a person slept was carefully considered. People were cautioned against sleeping on high, fluffy pillows that pushed the chin forward toward the chest, as this was known to cause permanent necklines, often referred to as necklace lines, and encourage a double chin. Instead, many chose to sleep on very thin, firm pillows or entirely flat on their back, allowing the spine to maintain a neutral alignment throughout the night. This disciplined approach to sleep ensured that the body rested efficiently, waking up without the stiffness and aches that so often plague modern mornings. If you are finding peace in these whispers of the past and appreciate the calm educational journey we are sharing tonight, please take a moment to leave a comment below. We love reading your thoughts, and your interactions help our gentle community grow stronger every day. Remember to like this video if it has brought a touch of tranquility to your evening, and let us continue our journey into the quiet secrets of the mid-century. As the evening deepened and the house grew completely still, a person in the 1950s would turn their focus to the most expressive feature of the face, the eyes. In an era without the heavy filtering of modern photography, bright, clear, and luminous eyes were considered the true indicator of a person's vitality and inner well-being. The dust from outdoor environments, combined with the glare of early TV screens and reading under dim incandescent lamps, often left the eyes feeling strained, bloodshot and heavy by the end of the day. To counter this, a gentle and incredibly soothing routine was dedicated entirely to eye care. Before applying any nighttime creams, the eyes were treated to a cooling compress. A very common and completely natural home remedy involved using fresh cucumber slices, which were kept in the refrigerator until they were ice cold. Sitting quietly in an armchair or lying flat on the bed, a person would place these thick, crisp slices directly over their closed eyelids. The natural astringents and high water content of the cucumber worked to instantly constrict the tiny blood vessels around the eyes, reducing puffiness and draining away the fluid retention that causes dark circles. Alternatively, if cucumbers were not available, small cotton pads soaked in chilled chamomile tea or witch hazel were used. Chamomile was highly prized for its anti-inflammatory properties, providing a deep herbal comfort to irritated tissues. Imagine lying there in the absolute darkness, feeling the intense, refreshing coldness of the compress, absorbing the burning heat and fatigue from your eyes. As the minutes ticked by, the cool moisture relaxed the tiny muscles surrounding the eye sockets, melting away the stress lines that naturally form when we squint or concentrate. After the cooling compress was removed, the delicate skin around the eyes was treated with extreme gentleness. In the 1950s, women were strictly warned never to rub or pull the skin near the eyes, as it was understood to be the thinnest and most fragile skin on the entire body. Instead, a tiny amount of pure castor oil, or a specialized heavy petroleum-based eye cream was taken on the tip of the ring finger, the weakest finger on the hand. The cream was applied using a soft, tapping motion, moving gently along the orbital bone from the outer corner inward toward the bridge of the nose. This tapping motion, known as tapotement, stimulated local blood circulation without stretching the skin. Castor oil was particularly favored because it not only deeply hydrated the dry skin cells overnight, but also conditioned the eyelashes, making them appear thicker, darker, and longer over time. This slow, delicate care of the eyes was a beautiful act of preservation. By treating the eyes with such tenderness before sleep, people woke up with a refreshed, wide-awake gaze that needed very little enhancement, demonstrating how these simple natural ingredients provided timeless benefits that require no modern chemicals to achieve. While the external rituals of creams, brushes, and compresses were essential, the people of the 1950s firmly believed that true beauty was an inside job. The concept of building a glowing complexion from within was heavily emphasized in the health and wellness literature of the mid-century. It was widely understood that a sluggish digestive system or a poor diet would inevitably manifest on the surface of the skin in the form of blemishes, dullness, and dark circles. Therefore, what one consumed in the hours leading up to bedtime was considered just as crucial as any topical treatment applied to the face. Instead of heavy nighttime snacks or sugary desserts, a 1950s evening usually concluded with a simple, therapeutic beverage designed to calm the stomach and purify the system overnight. One of the most cherished bedtime traditions was a warm cup of whole milk, sometimes sweetened with a single teaspoon of raw honey. This was not just a comforting habit, it was grounded in a practical understanding of relaxation. The warmth of the milk increased internal body temperature, inducing a pleasant drowsiness, while the natural sugars in honey gently regulated blood sugar levels through the night, preventing sudden awakenings caused by hunger or restlessness. For those focusing primarily on skin clarity and detoxification, the beverage of choice was a cup of hot water infused with the fresh juice of half a lemon, drunk approximately 30 minutes before going to sleep. This simple elixir was praised for its ability to flush out internal toxins, balance the body's pH levels, and stimulate the liver while the body rested. Beauty columnists frequently noted that this internal systemic cleansing was the ultimate secret to achieving that clear, transparent skin quality that no amount of heavy powder or foundation could ever truly replicate. Furthermore, dinner during this era was typically served early, ensuring that the body had ample time to fully digest the meal before transitioning into a state of rest. A heavy stomach was known to disrupt the deep cycles of sleep, leading to restless tossing and turning, which in turn caused physical fatigue and skin inflammation the following morning. By choosing light, wholesome evening meals and soothing herbal drinks, individuals in the 1950s maintained a harmonious balance between their inner health and outer appearance, waking up feeling genuinely restored and refreshed. If you find yourself drifting into a state of deep relaxation and appreciate this gentle journey into the habits of the past, please take a moment to subscribe to Sleepy History with Benedict. By clicking the subscription button and turning on the notification bell, you ensure that you will always have a peaceful educational escape waiting for you every single night. Thank you for being a wonderful part of our listening community, and let us now journey further into the quiet wisdom of yesteryear. As the physical body was fully cleansed, nourished, and relaxed, the final touch of the 1950s evening routine moved into the invisible realm of fragrance. In the mid-20th century, scent was not used merely as a dramatic statement for social gatherings or special occasions. Instead, it was an intrinsic part of a person's private atmosphere, an invisible garment worn specifically for the transition into sleep. The psychological power of aroma was deeply respected, and people understood that a familiar, comforting fragrance could act as an emotional anchor, melting away the lingering anxieties of a busy day. Rather than the heavy, complex synthetic perfumes designed for evening wear, the bedtime fragrance was always light, clean, and profoundly soothing. The absolute favorite choice for millions was a gentle splash of traditional eau de cologne or a delicate mist of pure rosewater. These lighter formulations had a high water and alcohol content that evaporated quickly when pressed onto the pulse points, the inside of the wrists, the base of the throat, and just behind the ears. This rapid evaporation created a soft, immediate cooling sensation that was incredibly refreshing to a body tucked beneath heavy flannel sheets. The scents themselves were deeply rooted in nature. Lavender, violet, lilac, and sweet lily of the valley were the prevailing notes of the era. These familiar floral aromas possessed a clean, powdered quality that modern fragrances rarely replicate. Imagine laying your head down onto a crisp cotton pillowcase that has been lightly pressed with a lavender linen water. As your skin warms the fabric, the microscopic scent molecules are slowly released into the air around you, creating an immersive cocoon of safety and serenity. Furthermore, many women utilize their daily body powder or talcum to layer this calming fragrance. Applied with a giant plush satin puff, the powder left a microscopic barrier on the skin that absorbed perspiration and eliminated the friction between the body and the bedsheets. This completely friction-free environment allowed the body to slide into different sleeping positions with effortless fluidity, preventing any sudden disruptions to the deep sleep cycle. The combination of clean cotton, soft powder, and a whisper of floral water transformed the ordinary bed into a sacred space of absolute comfort. This bedtime aromatherapy did more than just make the environment pleasant. It established a powerful sensory cue for the brain. When these specific clean scents filled the darkened room, the mind instantly recognized that all duties, labors, and worries of the day were officially over. It allowed the individual to fully surrender to the night, feeling protected by a familiar cloud of fragrance that would linger softly until the morning sun began to break through the window panes. This content is inspired by and adapted from public domain works available through Project Gutenberg. The material has been transformed through original narration, editing, and storytelling to create a unique experience for educational and entertainment purposes. With the room now filled with a comforting floral fragrance, the final focus of the mid-century bedtime routine narrowed down to the smallest yet most delicate features of the face, the lips and the smile. In the 1950s, a bright, healthy smile and smooth, unchapped lips were essential components of an attractive and wholesome appearance. Because the popular lipsticks of the era were highly pigmented and formulated with matte, long-lasting waxes, they had a strong tendency to dry out the lips by the end of the day. Therefore, an intentional nighttime routine was required to restore moisture and protect this sensitive area during the long hours of sleep. Before any treatment was applied, the lips were gently exfoliated to remove any leftover flakes of dry skin or stubborn wax particles. This was often done using a soft, clean cotton washcloth dipped in lukewarm water. A person would gently rub the cloth over the lips in tiny circular movements, boosting blood circulation and bringing a natural rosy flush to the surface. Once the lips were smooth and bare, they were sealed with a generous layer of pure almond oil, petroleum jelly, or a homemade balm crafted from natural beeswax and coconut oil. This thick layer of moisture acted as a protective shield against the dry, cold air of the bedroom. As the body rested, the nourishing oils would penetrate deeply into the delicate skin layers, ensuring that the individual would wake up with soft, plump lips that were completely free of cracks or discomfort. This simple act of overnight lip hydration was a quiet, effortless habit that required no complex formulas, yet delivered perfect results every single time. In tandem with lip care, dental and oral hygiene in the 1950s was approached with great discipline and a focus on long-term health. While industrial toothpaste brands were becoming widely available, many households still relied on traditional non-abrasive methods to maintain a clean mouth before bed. A very common practice was rinsing the mouth with a glass of warm water mixed with half a teaspoon of sea salt or baking soda. This natural alkaline solution neutralized the acids produced by food throughout the day, preventing tooth decay and soothing the gums without the use of harsh artificial chemicals. For a refreshing finishing touch, a drop of pure peppermint oil or wintergreen extract was often added to the water. The cool, crisp sensation of the mint, combined with the clean texture of the mouth, provided an immediate sense of purity and comfort. As the last rinse was completed, the mouth felt entirely fresh and cool, making the act of breathing in the dark bedroom incredibly pleasant. Every breath taken was clean and soothing, further signaling to the nervous system that the body was completely prepared to drift into a deep, restorative slumber. As we continue to dim the lights of our historical journey, we look down toward a part of the body that carried the literal weight of the 1950s lifestyle. The feet. In this era, footwear was beautifully structured but often unyielding. Women spent their days walking, shopping and managing households in stiff leather pumps or elegant high heels, while men wore rigid leather dress shoes. There were no modern cushioned sneakers or ergonomic insoles to absorb the impact of the hard concrete streets. By the time twilight faded into night, the feet were often throbbing with intense fatigue, swelling, and deep muscular tension. To ensure that this physical discomfort did not interfere with a peaceful night of sleep, a dedicated routine of foot care was established as a common household necessity. It frequently began right after the evening bath, while the skin was still warm and pliable. A small basin would be filled with water that was slightly warmer than the bath, and a handful of coarse rock, salt, or yellow mustard powder would be stirred into it. Mustard powder was an old-fashioned folk remedy highly trusted in the mid-century for its ability to create a warming sensation on the skin, drawing blood flow down to the lower extremities and rapidly relieving deep aches. Imagine submerging your tired, aching feet into this warm, therapeutic bath. You can feel the tension in your ankles and arches slowly dissolving as the heat works its way into the stiff muscles. A person would sit quietly for 10 minutes, letting the water do the heavy work of relaxation. Once the soak was complete, the feet were dried thoroughly with a coarse towel, paying special attention to the areas between the toes to ensure absolute cleanliness and health. Next came the most restorative part of the routine, the nighttime massage. A rich, heavy ointment, most commonly pure lanolin, which is a natural wax derived from sheep's wool, or simple olive oil, was warmed between the palms of the hands. Using firm, deliberate pressure, the thumbs would press into the center of the arches, moving upward toward the toes and down toward the heels. This deep tissue massage broke down the painful knots built up from hours of standing on hard surfaces, while the heavy lanolin deeply conditioned the thick, calloused skin of the heels. To complete the treatment and protect the bed linen, a pair of clean, loose-fitting cotton socks was slipped over the oiled feet. Just like the white gloves used for the hands, these sleep socks acted as a miniature sauna, trapping the natural body heat and forcing the rich oils deep into the dry skin layers throughout the night. The physical sensation of climbing into bed with warm, moisturized and protected feet was incredibly comforting. It created a profound sense of grounding, allowing the entire body to feel heavy, relaxed, and completely supported by the mattress, ready to glide effortlessly into a dreamless sleep. With the entire body now carefully cleansed, massaged, and wrapped in comforting protective layers, the final stage of the 1950s routine shifted from personal care to the physical environment of the bedroom itself. In the mid-20th century, sleep was not treated as a casual afterthought, it was protected as a vital health necessity. To achieve the deep, restorative rest required for a radiant appearance the next morning, the bed itself was prepared with meticulous care and attention to detail, transforming it into an inviting haven of absolute comfort. The journey to a perfect night of sleep began long before bedtime, with the materials chosen for the bed linen. In an era before the widespread use of synthetic polyester sheets, mattresses were dressed exclusively in 100% long-staple cotton or pure, heavy linen. These natural fibers were highly celebrated for their breathability, allowing air to circulate freely around the body and regulating temperature throughout the night. Sheets were washed thoroughly, hung out on outdoor clotheslines to dry in the fresh air and sunshine, and then carefully pressed with a heavy iron until they were completely smooth and flat. Imagine sliding into a bed made with these crisp, sun-dried cotton sheets. The surface feels pleasantly cool against the skin, and the faint, clean aroma of fresh air and lavender linen spray instantly soothes the senses. There were no uncomfortable wrinkles or crumpled fabrics to irritate the skin or disrupt the body's natural alignment. The top sheet was tucked tightly under the mattress at the foot of the bed, using sharp diagonal folds known as hospital corners, creating a smooth, secure envelope that kept the blankets perfectly in place, no matter how much a sleeper moved. The pillows were also a subject of careful consideration in the 1950s household. Plumped and fluffed daily by hand, they were encased in smooth cotton pillowcases that were frequently decorated with delicate, hand-embroidered edges. The firmness of the pillow was chosen to support the neck without tilting the head too far forward, preventing the formation of lines on the throat and ensuring that breathing remained deep and unobstructed. A heavy quilted bedspread or a soft wool blanket was layered on top, providing a comforting weight that gently pressed down on the body, signaling the nervous system to relax and let go of the day's stress. As a person lay down into this perfectly structured bed, the physical sensation was one of complete security and tranquility. The combination of pristine, smooth sheets, the gentle weight of the blankets, and the absolute cleanliness of the environment created a space where the mind could finally stop racing. Surrounded by the quiet history of these simple, elegant practices, the boundaries of the modern world began to fade away, leaving only the soft, rhythmic sound of breathing in the dark room, as the spirit prepared to drift deeper into the peaceful kingdom of dreams. As the physical sanctuary of the bed was fully prepared, the final, subtle transition into the night involved the careful control of light and sound within the 1950s bedroom. Long before modern science discovered the harmful effects of blue light from digital screens on our sleep architecture, mid-century health and beauty advisors instinctively understood that darkness was a powerful medicine. A completely dark room was considered absolutely essential for what they called beauty sleep, a deep, uninterrupted slumber that allowed the cells of the body to repair, regenerate, and heal from the day's wear and tear. The process of darkening the room was a deliberate evening ritual. A person would walk slowly across the room, pulling shut the heavy-lined drapes or Venetian blinds to block out the glow of street lamps and the early neon signs of the expanding suburbs. Then, the heavy wooden console radio downstairs was clicked off, ensuring that no loud jazz music or late-night news broadcasts would disturb the quiet air of the house. The remaining illumination came only from a small, soft wattage bulb inside the bedside vanity lamp, casting long, peaceful shadows across the patterned wallpaper. In this dim, amber atmosphere, the mind naturally began to produce its own chemicals of relaxation. The eyes, no longer forced to focus on sharp details or harsh glares, could finally relax their tiny muscles. People were encouraged to spend the last 10 minutes before sleep away from any strenuous mental tasks. Instead of planning the next day's budget or reading dense literature, they would lie quietly in the dim light, perhaps reflecting on one positive event from the day, or letting their thoughts drift aimlessly like autumn leaves on a slow-moving river. When the final moment arrived to turn off the lamp, the hand would reach out to click the small switch. In an instant, the room was plunged into a deep, velvety darkness. Without the constant standby lights, glowing digital clocks, or blinking notifications that populate our modern bedrooms, this darkness was absolute, thick, and profoundly comforting. It wrapped around the sleeper like a heavy velvet blanket, signaling to every nerve ending that the time for vigilance had passed and the time for total surrender had come. As you lie here now, listening to these gentle echoes of the past, imagine that same deep, comforting darkness filling your own room. Feel the cool air on your face and the heavy warmth of your blankets protecting your body. The world outside is vast and fast-moving, but in this quiet space of history there is absolutely nothing you need to do, nowhere you need to go, and nothing you need to solve. Your only task is to let your breathing slow down, matching the gentle rhythmic cadence of the mid-century night as we prepare to uncover more hidden secrets of this tranquil era. As we rest deeper within the tranquil shadows of the mid-century bedroom, our historical exploration turns to an area of personal care that was treated with the utmost reverence in the 1950s, yet is often overlooked in our hurried modern routines: the care of the neck and the décolletage. In the fashion-forward decade of the 1950s, clothing designs frequently featured elegant boat necks, sweetheart necklines, and open collars that beautifully framed a person's throat and upper chest. Because these areas were so prominently displayed, maintaining smooth, firm, and unblemished skin on the neck was considered just as crucial as caring for the face itself. Beauty experts of the era constantly reminded their readers that the neck was the very first place to betray a person's true age or state of fatigue. The skin here is naturally thin, containing fewer oil glands than the face, making it incredibly susceptible to dryness, sagging, and the premature formation of deep lines. To combat the daily effects of gravity and movement, a specific highly structured nighttime massage was performed with a dedication that mirrored a sacred art form. Imagine sitting before the heavy vanity mirror, the room completely silent, save for the soft ticking of a clock. After the face had been thoroughly cleansed with cold cream, a fresh dollop of rich cocoa butter, pure coconut oil, or a specialized tissue cream was warmed between the palms until it turned into a slick, fragrant elixir. The head was tilted slightly upward, elongating the throat. Using the flats of both hands, a person would begin to apply the cream, using long, sweeping, alternating strokes that moved exclusively in an upward direction from the collarbone all the way up to the edge of the jawline. This upward motion was strictly enforced by mid-century beauty academies. It was believed that rubbing downward would pull the delicate tissues toward the earth, encouraging sagging and double chins. The gentle pressure of the hands not only forced the deep, nourishing moisture into the dry skin layers, but also stimulated the underlying neck muscles, keeping them toned and resilient. The strokes were slow, rhythmic, and firm, creating a warm, tingling sensation as blood circulation rushed to the surface, carrying vital nutrients to the cells. Once the throat was completely smooth and hydrated, the massage extended downward to the chest area. Here, the fingers would trace gentle outward circles, smoothing away the tiny crinkles that could form from sleeping on one side. This dedicated care ensured that the skin remained incredibly soft, elastic, and luminous under the morning sun. By treating the neck and chest with the same respect as the face, the individuals of the 1950s preserved a seamless, unbroken elegance from the hairline down to the bodice, showing us how a little extra time spent in gentle motion can preserve beauty and bring a profound sense of physical peace before sleep. As the night deepens and the air in the vintage bedroom becomes cooler, we discover another simple yet incredibly effective liquid found in almost every mid-century medicine cabinet: witch hazel. Long before the market was flooded with synthetic chemical toners and alcohol-heavy astringents, this humble botanical extract was the ultimate secret weapon for maintaining a refined, poreless complexion. Derived from the bark and leaves of the hamamelis shrub, witch hazel was celebrated in the 1950s for its natural ability to calm inflammation, tighten the skin, and reduce any redness accumulated during a busy day. Imagine the clean, slightly woodsy aroma of witch hazel filling the quiet room. After the heavy oils of the cold cream were thoroughly wiped away, a woman would soak a soft cotton pad or a fine piece of linen in chilled witch hazel. With a gentle patting motion, she would sweep it across her nose, cheeks, and forehead. The physical sensation was instantly refreshing, a gentle, crisp tingling that swept away any residual warmth or oiliness, leaving the skin feeling perfectly balanced, clean, and tight. But the true mid-century experts did not stop at witch hazel alone to maximize its pore tightening and firming effects. They frequently combined it with the therapy of extreme cold. A very popular technique involved wrapping a small ice cube in a soft, damp linen handkerchief. Holding this cold compress gently by the corners, a person would lightly glide it over the face in upward and outward strokes, paying special attention to the areas around the nose and under the cheekbones where pores tended to be more visible. To the modern mind, applying ice directly to the skin right before bed might sound like a shock to the system. However, in the 1950s, this cold water therapy was understood to be a natural vascular workout. The sudden cold caused the tiny blood vessels to temporarily constrict, pushing away stagnant fluids and reducing any facial puffiness. As the skin warmed back up naturally in the cozy environment of the bedroom, a fresh, vibrant wave of blood flow would rush back to the surface, delivering a healthy dose of oxygen and giving the face a beautiful, natural firmness. This repetitive cooling routine had a surprisingly hypnotic effect on the mind. The crisp contrast between the warm air of the room and the icy touch of the linen helped center the attention, forcing a person to focus entirely on the physical sensations of the present moment. All the chaotic thoughts of tomorrow's schedules, grocery lists, and household budgets would slowly melt away under the cool, soothing sweep of the compress. The skin was left perfectly prepped, resilient and breathing freely, carrying a pristine cleanliness into the long hours of the night as we prepare to look further into the timeless grooming secrets of this quiet era. With the face and neck perfectly toned and cooled by the gentle mist of witch hazel, the attention naturally turned to the rest of the body before the final embrace of sleep. In the 1950s, the concept of body care was deeply intertwined with the choice of nighttime attire. It was an era that discarded the heavy, restrictive woolen nightshirts of the past in favor of fluid, luxurious fabrics that felt like a second skin. Women and men alike understood that the texture of the cloth resting against the body for 8 hours each night played a significant role in maintaining smooth, unblemished skin and a peaceful state of mind. Before slipping into these bedtime garments, an essential barrier of moisture was applied to the arms, shoulders, and legs. While commercially manufactured lotions were growing in popularity, the true connoisseurs of mid-century beauty swore by a traditional, hand-blended elixir of equal parts pure rosewater and vegetable glycerin. Kept in a decorative crystal decanter on the vanity, this thick, silky fluid was poured into the palms and massaged into the limbs. Glycerin, a powerful natural humectant, bound moisture tightly to the cellular level, while the rosewater provided a delicate, calming fragrance that lingered softly in the air. Once this hydrating fluid had completely absorbed, leaving the skin feeling incredibly silky and dry to the touch, it was time to don the evening sleep. For a woman of the 1950s, this usually meant a flowing nightgown crafted from fine silk, slippery satin, or the newly invented brushed nylon tricot. These fabrics were specifically chosen not just for their visual elegance, but for their total lack of friction. As a sleeper moved and rolled during the night, these smooth materials would slide effortlessly over the mattress and sheets, never pulling at the skin, never causing irritation, and never disrupting the deep cycles of sleep. Men, too, embraced this philosophy, opting for lightweight cotton or silk pajamas with loose, relaxed cuts that allowed for complete freedom of movement and optimal skin respiration. The physical sensation of wearing these fluid, soft fabrics over a freshly moisturized body created an immediate psychological shift. It was a tangible boundary that marked the separation between the structured, disciplined public life of the daytime and the completely unrestricted comfort of the private night. As you lie still in the quiet of your own room, imagine the smooth, frictionless comfort of those mid-century fabrics draped gently over your limbs. Feel the absolute lightness of the air around you, free from the synthetic tightness of modern activewear. The body is completely unburdened, wrapped in a cocoon of soft fibers and delicate floral whispers, ready to drift further into the deep, dark sea of relaxation as the clock quietly measures out the peaceful hours of the night. As the velvet darkness of the 1950s evening completely enveloped the house, every single limb was now systematically prepared for a state of deep, restorative healing. Yet, one final area required a quiet, protective ritual before the blankets were pulled up to the chin, the heels, and the toenails. In an era where people walked far more frequently than we do today, marching down to the local butcher, rushing to catch the morning tram, or standing on hardwood floors preparing elaborate multi-course meals, the heels bore an immense structural burden. Without proper nighttime maintenance, the skin would quickly become thick, dry, and painfully cracked, disrupting both physical comfort and the effortless elegance of mid-century styling. To address this, the late-night foot ritual concluded with the application of an ingredient that was considered gold standard in the mid-20th century, pure medical-grade anhydrous lanolin. Derived naturally from the protective wax found on sheep's wool, lanolin possessed an extraordinary molecular structure that closely mirrored the natural lipids of human skin. It did not simply sit on top of the surface like modern synthetic petroleum derivatives, it actively penetrated deep into the thick stubborn layers of the stratum corneum, softening the tough calluses from within. Imagine taking a small, rich scoop of this amber-colored ointment, warming it between your fingertips until it melts into a smooth, deeply lubricating oil. A person would sit comfortably on the edge of the plush bed, massaging this warm wax into the rough edges of the heels, the dry pads of the toes, and directly into the cuticles of the toenails. The repetitive circular motion of the thumbs pressing into the bone structure of the ankle encouraged localized blood circulation, flushing the cold extremities with a soothing warmth that was incredibly relaxing to the nervous system. Once the skin had absorbed as much of the nutrient-rich wax as possible, a highly specific protective step was taken to ensure the treatment worked its magic throughout the 8 hours of sleep. A pair of completely loose, breathable white cotton socks, kept exclusively for this bedtime ritual, was gently pulled over the feet. These socks did not have tight elastic bands that could constrict blood flow. Instead, they draped softly over the skin, acting as a gentle greenhouse that trapped the body's natural heat and allowed the lanolin to continuously hydrate the deeper tissues without smearing onto the clean, pressed linen sheets. When the individual finally lay back down, pulling the heavy wool comforter over their protected feet, the physical sensation was one of total warmth and deep, insulated comfort. The feet, which had felt tired, cold, and strained just an hour before, were now cocooned in a soothing microclimate of healing. This quiet, disciplined act of overnight moisture locking was a beautiful testament to the practical wisdom of the 1950s, a habit that quietly still works today, ensuring that despite the cold or the hardness of the world outside, the body remains soft, resilient, and perfectly cared for in the gentle embrace of the night. As the hands of the vintage grandfather clock downstairs crept closer to midnight, the very last details of the physical face were gently attended to in the quiet bath. In the 1950s, oral hygiene was not just about health, it was closely tied to a person's overall freshness and personal discipline. While early commercial toothpastes in tubes were becoming a staple of the modern grocery store, many individuals still held tightly to the traditional, highly effective oral powders that had been prepared at home for generations. These simple mixtures were praised for their ability to scrub away the stains of coffee and tobacco without relying on harsh, artificial chemicals or sweet synthetic syrups. Imagine a small decorative ceramic pot sitting on the edge of the wash basin. Inside lies a fine, snow-white powder made from a precise blend of active baking soda and finely ground sea salt. A person would dampen their toothbrush, which during this era was often crafted with a sturdy bone handle and natural bristles, and dip it lightly into the powder. The sensation of brushing with this mixture was remarkably clean, characterized by a sharp, salty taste and a gentle, effervescent scrubbing action that thoroughly polished the enamel of the teeth. Baking soda acted as a natural acid neutralizer, altering the pH balance of the mouth to eliminate the bacteria that cause overnight tooth decay, while the microscopic salt crystals gently lifted away surface plaque. This process was done with slow, methodical strokes, ensuring that every corner of the mouth was fully cleansed. Once rinsed away with cool, clear water from the porcelain tap, the teeth felt unbelievably smooth, almost like polished marble, and the entire mouth carried a profound sensation of pure cleanliness. To ensure that the breath remained perfectly sweet and fresh through the long hours of the night, a final, natural step was taken. Before leaving the kitchen for the final time, a person would often pick 2 or 3 fresh leaves of peppermint or spearmint from a small herb pot kept on the windowsill. They would slow chew these green leaves, letting the natural essential oils coat the tongue, throat and gums. The crisp, clean moisture of the mint combined with the residual cleanliness of the baking soda rinse to create a naturally cool airflow with every breath. As the individual climbed back up the stairs toward the darkened bedroom, every inhalation felt light, clean and refreshing. There were no heavy artificial sweeteners lingering on the palate, only the pure, crisp essence of the natural herbs. This immaculate state of oral freshness provided a deep sense of internal comfort, allowing the person to settle into their pillows with a mouth that felt entirely pure and a mind that was completely at ease, ready to let go of the waking world. With the physical body entirely purified, moisturized, and resting comfortably within the cool embrace of pressed linen sheets, the final ritual of a 1950s evening moved inward, transitioning from the care of the skin to the care of the soul. In the mid-20th century, mental wellness was not analyzed through complex applications or public sharing. Instead, it was cultivated through quiet, private habits of reflection. People understood that going to bed with a mind heavy with unresolved grievances, financial worries or daytime clutter would inevitably lead to a restless night, reflecting directly on their health and appearance the following morning. To achieve total emotional release, many individuals turned to a small, leather-bound journal or a simple cloth notebook kept inside the drawer of the nightstand. In the soft, warm glow of the bedside lamp, they would take a fountain pen and spend a few unhurried moments writing down their final thoughts of the day. This was not a diary meant to record complaints or catalogue anxieties. Rather, it was a structured exercise in gratitude, a deliberate attempt to record the simple, beautiful highlights of the past 14 hours. A person might write about the crisp texture of the morning air, the sound of children laughing on the neighborhood sidewalk, a successful recipe executed at dinner, or a kind word shared by a colleague at the office. The physical act of moving the pen across the paper required a slow, deliberate focus, which naturally acted as an anchor for a racing mind. By forcing the consciousness to identify and dwell upon these positive elements, the brain was gently rewired to feel safe, content and secure in its immediate environment. For others, this period of reflection took the form of silent prayer or a secular meditation on forgiveness. It was a strict rule of mid-century emotional hygiene that one must never let the sun go down on anger. A person would lie completely flat on their back, close their eyes and intentionally visualize releasing any tension, jealousy or frustration they felt toward others during the day. They wiped the internal slate completely clean, recognizing that the failures of today belonged to the past and that tomorrow offered a completely pristine canvas. As the fountain pen was returned to its holder and the small book was slid quietly back into the drawer, a profound stillness would settle over the room. The mind, unburdened by the weight of unexpressed emotions or digital distractions, became as quiet and calm as the dark house around it. The individual was left with a deep, comforting sense of internal order and peace. With a grateful heart and a clear conscience, they would reach out to click off the lamp, completely prepared to let go of the conscious world and glide into a deep, beautifully restorative slumber. With the mind now cleared of all daytime thoughts and the soul resting in a state of quiet gratitude, there was one final physical adjustment made to the 1950s bedroom before the eyes were closed for the night. This was a habit so deeply embedded in the culture of the mid-century that it was considered an absolute rule of health. The practice of opening the bedroom window to let in the night air, a tradition affectionately known as the fresh air cure. Long before the widespread installation of residential air conditioning or electronic air purifiers, people believed that stagnant indoor air was a primary cause of morning headaches, pale skin, and a heavy, unrefreshing sleep. Even on chilly autumn nights or during the crisp months of winter, a person would step across the soft rug, reach for the wooden window frame and push the sash upward just a few inches. The immediate effect was a gentle, invigorating rush of cool outdoor air sweeping into the warm room. This practice was heavily endorsed by medical journals and beauty experts alike, who argued that oxygen was the ultimate free cellular rejuvenator. They believed that breathing in pure, moving air throughout the night allowed the lungs to fully expand and clean themselves, while simultaneously delivering a fresh supply of oxygen to the skin cells, giving the face a natural, healthy rosiness by dawn. Imagine lying beneath a heavy, warm wool blanket, while a crisp, clean breeze circulates softly through the darkness above you. The contrast was incredibly soothing. The body remained completely warm, insulated and protected beneath the layers of linen and quilts, while the face and nose breathed in air that was pure, cool and utterly alive with the scents of the night. This moving current of air naturally swept away the lingering scents of creams, powders, and the daytime heat of the house, creating a pristine microclimate that was ideal for deep, uninterrupted sleep. Furthermore, the gentle sound of the wind rustling through the backyard trees, or the distant rhythmic hum of the quiet neighborhood, acted as a natural lullaby. Without the artificial white noise machines of the modern world, the sounds of nature filtering through the open window connected the sleeper directly to the world outside. It created a comforting sense of place and belonging, a reminder that the earth was continuing its quiet rotation while the body rested and healed. As you settle deeper into your own bed tonight, imagine that same crisp, vintage night air gently entering your space. Feel the coolness clearing away the heaviness of your thoughts and the warmth of your blankets holding you perfectly still. The room is dark, the air is clean, and your body is completely safe. There is nothing left to monitor, nothing left to change. You are perfectly synchronized with the quiet rhythm of the night, ready to let go completely and drift into a deep, beautiful, and restorative sleep. With the window slightly open, letting in the cool, rhythmic whisper of the night air, the final moment of the 1950s evening routine had arrived. This was the moment of complete and absolute surrender. In the mid-century, people did not view sleep as a waste of productive time or an annoying interruption to their social lives. Instead, they respected it as a sacred boundary, a beautiful, necessary return to nature that allowed the body, mind, and spirit to completely rebuild themselves after a day of purposeful living. As the individual settled their head into the hollow of the fluffed goose-down pillow, they pulled the heavy, sun-dried blankets up over their shoulders. The physical sensations were perfectly aligned. The face was clean and cool, the skin was nourished with rich oils, the hands and feet were warm and protected, and the mind was entirely empty of grievance. There was a profound sense of self-respect in this preparation. By taking the time to care for every detail of their physical and mental well-being before sleep, they were making a quiet investment in the day that was yet to come. In this deep state of comfort, the boundaries between the waking world and the realm of dreams began to dissolve effortlessly. The slow, deep breaths drawn into the lungs carried the pure oxygen needed to repair the skin cells, smooth out the lines of concentration, and restore a youthful luminescence to the complexion. It was widely understood that the most expensive cosmetics in the world were completely useless without this foundational phase of deep, unbothered rest. Sleep was the true fountain of youth, a natural medicine that required no prescription, only the willingness to let go. As the house grew completely cold and silent under the stars, the individual drifted away, wrapped in a blanket of timeless security. They did not worry about the future or glance at a glowing screen to check the hours. They simply trusted the natural rhythm of the night to carry them safely through to the morning light. They knew that when the sun finally broke through the heavy drapes, they would wake up feeling genuinely light, vibrant, and ready to meet the world with a bright, wide-awake smile and a clear, serene mind. Now, it is your turn to experience that exact same deep historical peace. Let your eyelids become incredibly heavy, feeling the comforting weight of the darkness around you. Your body is perfectly supported, your breathing is slow and steady, and the worries of the day have been entirely wiped clean. There is nothing left to do but surrender to the quiet rhythm of this peaceful journey. Let yourself drift away, sinking deeper and deeper into a soft, dreamless, and profoundly restorative sleep. Good night, and sleep deeply. As our journey through the quiet evening hours of the 1950s draws to a gentle close, we are left with a profound realization about the true nature of well-being. The glowing complexions, the elegant postures, and the internal resilience that defined the mid-century generation were not the products of advanced medical technology, synthetic miracle chemical ingredients, or instant high-speed procedures. Instead, their vibrant health and timeless appearance were built upon a foundation of simple discipline, deep patience, and an unyielding respect for the natural rhythms of the human body. Every single step we have explored tonight, from the slow, methodical massage of cold cream into the skin, to the careful brushing of the hair, the warm herbal drinks, and the setting of a dark, well-ventilated bedroom, was a quiet act of self-care. These rituals were a daily deceleration from the demands of the outer world, allowing the body to step away from the stress of public life and enter a state of complete domestic sanctuary. By dedicating those final hours of the day to mindful physical maintenance, the people of the 1950s proved that beauty and peace are things to be cultivated gently, from the inside out, over a lifetime of consistent and loving care. These historical habits serve as a beautiful reminder for our modern lives, showing us that true restoration is always within our reach if we simply choose to slow down, disconnect from our digital distractions, and honor our bodies with the same quiet attention. The simple wisdom of yesteryear is not lost. It remains waiting for us in the soft fabric of our sheets, the warmth of an evening cup of tea, and the deep, silent comfort of a completely dark room. If this peaceful exploration of the past has brought a sense of calm to your evening and helped ease your transition into a restful state, please take a moment to share your thoughts and experiences in the comments below. Your reflections and presence mean the world to us. To ensure that you can return to this sanctuary of calm every single night, please subscribe to the channel and join our listening community. Thank you for allowing Benedict to guide you through these forgotten pathways of history. The night is now perfectly still, the air is beautifully clear, and your body is fully prepared for the long journey of rest. Let go of the very last thoughts of the waking world, sink deeply into the soft cushions of your bed, and allow yourself to drift into a profound, unbroken sleep. Good night, sweet dreams, and rest peacefully. As the hands of the heavy mahogany grandfather clock in the downstairs hallway finally overlap at the midnight hour, a new layer of stillness settles over the mid-century home. The active preparations, the brushing of hair, and the application of soothing botanical oils are now complete, leaving behind a house that breathes in perfect rhythmic unison with the night. The busy sounds of daytime domestic life, the clinking of porcelain dinnerware, the low hum of the vacuum cleaner, and the cheerful chatter from the evening radio have completely evaporated into the dark, cool air. In this deep phase of the night, the bedroom transforms into a pure sanctuary of sensory rest. The only remaining movement is the slow, almost imperceptible dance of the sheer lace curtains as the crisp midnight breeze slips through the small opening of the window sash. Outside, the neighborhood has surrendered to the dark. The street lamps cast a soft, silvery glow across the dew-kissed lawns, and a gentle beam of moonlight filters through the window panes, drawing long, peaceful geometric patterns across the bedroom rug. For the person resting beneath the heavy quilted blankets, this hour represents the boundary between active relaxation and the deeper, unexplored territories of the subconscious mind. The body is completely immobilized by comfort, wrapped in the smooth, friction-free embrace of sun-dried cotton and conditioned with the faint, lingering scents of rosewater and clean linen. Every muscle in the face, from the brow down to the jawline, has gone entirely slack, completely erasing the expressions of daily effort and responsibility. As you lie here listening to the slow, steady rhythm of this vintage midnight, allow your own environment to mirror this profound transition. The night is no longer an ending. It is a vast open space of quiet existence where your body does not need to perform, achieve, or solve a single thing. The air around you is clean and cool. Your blankets are protective and warm, and the darkness is a gentle companion holding you safe. Let your awareness drift to the faint, hypnotic ticking of that distant hallway clock, each beat slow, measured, and infinitely patient. With every gentle tick, feel your mind letting go of another layer of waking thoughts, sinking just a little bit deeper into the mattress. We are standing at the threshold of a deeper quiet, where the spirit prepares to wander into new, tranquil landscapes of the mid-century night, waiting to see what gentle secrets the later hours have yet to unfold. As the world outside the window slips deeper into the quiet hours past midnight, the 1950s household relies on an almost instinctive wisdom to maintain what doctors of the era called the ideal sleep canopy. Without the automated climate control of modern digital thermostats, keeping the bedroom at a perfectly balanced temperature throughout the long night required a few clever, tactile adjustments. It was widely believed that a room that became too icy or stiflingly hot would trigger vivid dreams and fragmented sleep, disrupting the nocturnal cellular repair that kept the skin looking youthful and fresh. During the crisp, biting nights of late autumn and winter, the secret weapon for sustained thermal comfort was the classic rubber hot water bottle, dressed in a soft homemade flannel cozy. Filled with steaming water from the kitchen kettle just before bed, this humble object was slid deep under the blankets, right at the foot of the bed. By midnight, the concentrated heat had radiated upward, creating a localized microclimate of soothing warmth for the toes and ankles. This gentle, constant warmth kept the blood vessels dilated, ensuring that the body's extremities never became cold, which allowed the core nervous system to remain in a state of absolute deep sedation. Conversely, on sultry summer nights before the era of central air conditioning, the mid-century bedroom was kept cool through a beautifully simple physics trick. A large, shallow ceramic bowl filled with blocks of ice or chilled spring water infused with a few drops of eucalyptus oil was placed directly in front of the heavy, dark green metal electric fan. As the oscillating blades turned slowly from side to side with a soft metallic whir, they caught the rising cold evaporation from the ice, throwing a fine, incredibly refreshing chilled mist across the dark room. Imagine lying perfectly still in that room, feeling that faint periodic breath of cool, eucalyptus-scented air sweep across your bare shoulders and forehead. It balances the heavy warmth of the summer night perfectly, creating an exquisite harmony between the cool breeze on your skin and the cozy security of your bed. The soft mechanical hum of the fan acts as a steady acoustic blanket, masking the unpredictable noises of the nocturnal world outside. Every element of the room is perfectly tuned to support the body's natural drive toward deep rest. You are suspended in an environment crafted by hand, preserved by tradition, and entirely dedicated to your physical comfort. As you breathe in the clean, tempered air of this vintage sanctuary, feel your body becoming even heavier, completely trusting the space around you as the quiet hours of the early morning begin to stretch out ahead. As the clock ticks quietly toward the silent hours of 1 in the morning, the focus of the mid-century sleep ritual shifts from the physical environment to the internal mechanics of the body itself. In the 1950s, physical culture and beauty manuals frequently featured chapters on what they called the art of nocturnal breathing. Long before modern mindfulness apps existed, individuals were taught that the way one breathed in the dark was the ultimate key to unlocking the deepest levels of physical regeneration and emotional restoration. According to the health philosophies of the era, Shallow breathing through the mouth during sleep was a major culprit behind a tired morning expression, dry lips, and a restless nervous system. To counter this, as a person lay perfectly flat in the midnight stillness, they would practice a deliberate, rhythmic pattern of diaphragmatic breathing. Inhaling slowly and deeply through the nose, they would let the cool, fresh night air filter deep into the lowest part of the lungs, allowing the abdomen to rise gently beneath the crisp weight of the cotton sheets, before releasing the breath in a long, silent sigh of total deflation. This rhythmic breathing was systematically paired with a progressive muscle relaxation technique that was highly recommended by beauty experts to prevent tossing and turning. Tossing violently during the night was frowned upon, as it was believed to cause friction damage to the hair cuticles and create premature sleep lines on the face from compressed pillows. To remain perfectly still and serene, a person would consciously direct their attention to each major muscle group, ordering it to fully surrender to gravity. Imagine lying in that deep, vintage darkness, following the old instructions. With every long, slow exhalation, you feel the tension completely evaporating from your shoulders, allowing them to drop an inch deeper into the mattress. The hips become heavy and loose. The spine uncurls, and the tiny, delicate muscles around the eyes and jaw, which hold the stress of the entire day, finally go completely soft. The body becomes so profoundly relaxed that it feels almost weightless, perfectly integrated into the mattress beneath it. The continuous gentle rise and fall of the chest creates a soothing internal pendulum that quietens the remaining corners of the mind. Surrounded by the peaceful history of these simple, disciplined habits, your physical form enters a state of beautiful suspended animation. The air is cool, the body is completely limp and tension-free, and you are breathing in perfect harmony with the sleeping house, slipping effortlessly into the deeper, uncharted waters of the early morning hours. As the deep quiet of 2 o'clock in the morning arrives, the mid-century bedroom enters its most chemically peaceful state. In the absolute darkness, where the eyes are closed and the ears hear only the faintest whispers of the outdoor breeze, another powerful sense takes over to soothe the subconscious mind, the sense of smell. In the 1950s, homes were filled with a very specific, comforting tapestry of aromas that did not come from synthetic aerosol sprays or plug-in electric air fresheners, but from the natural materials and honest cleaning habits of the era. As the air cools down to its lowest nighttime temperature, these familiar scents gently settle and intertwine in the darkness, creating a distinct olfactory landscape of security. The first layer is the rich, grounded whisper of real wood. The heavy cedar chests, mahogany vanities, and oak floorboards, all meticulously polished earlier in the week with beeswax and linseed oil, release a dry, comforting, and earthbound aroma. This clean, woody bass notes give the room a feeling of solid, unchanging permanence, reassuring the sleeper that they are firmly anchored within a sturdy, protective shelter. Drifting softly above this wooden base is the clean, herbal sweetness of true lavender and dried patchouli leaves. In the mid-20th century, every proper homemaker kept small, hand-stitched linen sachets filled with these dried botanicals inside the linen closets and dresser drawers where sheets, nightgowns, and pillowcases were stored. As the fabric pressed against the skin, the warmth of the body gently released these trapped essential oils into the cold midnight air, sending a constant microscopic mist of linalool directly into the breathing zone of the sleeper, naturally lowering the heart rate and calming the emotional centers of the brain. Finally, there is the clean, nostalgic trace of standard zinc-based baby powder or classic talc, lightly dusted onto the sheets to keep the skin feeling perfectly dry and smooth throughout the night. This soft, chalky scent invokes an immediate, primal psychological response of pure innocence, safety, and maternal care. It is a scent that completely strips away the adult complexities of money, work, and social expectations, returning the mind to a state of total, uncomplicated vulnerability. Imagine taking a slow, deep breath in this vintage darkness right now. Let these clean, honest scents of wood, lavender, and soft powder fill your imagination. They form an invisible protective cocoon around your senses, reminding you that your world is orderly, clean, and completely at peace. There is absolutely nothing you need to guard against. The air is safe to breathe, the night is perfectly balanced, and you are free to sink even further into the soft, fragrant layers of this deep, historical rest. The world now enters the deepest, most mysterious corridor of the night, 3 o'clock in the morning. In the 1950s, this specific hour was recognized as the true midnight of the soul, a time when the human metabolism drops to its lowest point. The air outside becomes perfectly still, and the entire neighborhood is suspended in a state of collective, deep hibernation. In our modern life, waking up at 3 a.m. often triggers immediate anxiety, followed by the bright, disruptive glare of a smartphone screen. But in the mid-century, this quiet hour was treated with a completely different philosophy. If an individual happened to stir and open their eyes at 3 a.m. in a mid-century bedroom, they were met with an absolute velvet darkness. There were no flashing blue standby lights from electronic devices, no low digital hums, and no urgent notifications demanding attention. The room was completely, beautifully dead to the world. Instead of panicking about the lost minutes of sleep, people were taught to lean into this stillness as a rare luxury moment of pure existence. Lying perfectly flat on the down pillow, a person would simply listen to the soft, rhythmic language of the house at rest. They might hear the gentle creak of the wooden floorboards as the house contracted in the night coolness, or the faint, distant patter of condensation forming on the garden leaves outside. Without any artificial light to stimulate the optic nerve, the brain remained flooded with natural melatonin, keeping the body in a heavy, highly relaxed state that was just one breath away from slipping back into a dream. The old beauty manuals advised that if you woke up at this hour, you should not move a muscle. You were instructed to keep your hands resting softly on your thighs, keep your eyes gently closed, and let your mind float like a leaf on a calm river. It was understood that even if you were technically awake, keeping the body completely still and the mind free from worry provided 90% of the restorative benefits of actual sleep. The skin continued to repair its cells, the heart beat at a peaceful, measured pace, and the nervous system remained entirely unbothered. As you imagine yourself in that dark, silent 1950s bedroom at 3 a.m., feel the immense freedom of having absolutely nothing to look at and nowhere to go. The world outside is completely asleep, and you are entirely hidden from its demands. There is no time to keep track of, only the slow, comforting rise and fall of your chest in the dark. Let the deep, heavy stillness of this hour wash over you, knowing that your body knows exactly how to rest, and allow yourself to gently dissolve back into the warm, protective shadows of the night. As the clock slowly crosses into 4 o'clock in the morning, the deep, heavy density of the midnight hours begins to undergo a subtle, almost magical transformation. This is the pre-dawn transition, a quiet, liminal space where the absolute darkness of the night begins to soften into a cool, translucent charcoal grey. In the 1950s, this hour was highly prized by philosophers and health experts as the ultimate period for deep, uninterrupted cellular nutrition, where the body gathers its final, most potent reserves of energy before facing the waking world. While the human household remains completely fast asleep, tucked safely beneath the heavy wool comforters, the outdoor environment begins to gently wake up. Through the small opening of the window frame, the air arriving into the bedroom is now at its absolute sharpest, cleanest, and purest state. It carries the crisp dew of the early morning, completely unfiltered and untainted by the smoke and movement of daytime traffic. Inside the room, the faint silver-grey light begins to trace the soft outlines of the heavy wooden dresser, the crystal perfume bottles on the vanity, and the neat folds of the linen drapes. It is during these quiet hours that the skin reaches the final peak of its overnight renewal cycle. The rich cold creams, the soothing layers of witch hazel, and the hand-blended glycerin oils applied hours ago have been entirely metabolized, leaving the skin texture perfectly balanced, plump, and deeply rested. There is no tension left in the physical frame. The shoulders are dropped, The hands are loosely curled, and the body remains in a deep, natural state of hibernation, completely undisturbed by the soft shifting of the light. Soon, the very first vanguard of nature's symphony will begin, a single, lonely bird chirping from the high branches of the backyard elm tree, followed by the soft rustle of a cool breeze sweeping through the morning grass. But for now the silence still holds its ground, thick and protective. The individual in the bed does not need to wake up, nor do they need to acknowledge the coming day. They are allowed to remain cocooned in this beautiful, slow-motion world, suspended between the peace of the past night and the potential of the future morning. As you rest in your own modern space, let your mind dwell on this quiet, grey pre-dawn of the 1950s. Feel the absolute luxury of these final hours of rest, where the world is just starting to breathe again, but you are still permitted to completely let go. Let the cool, fresh air clear your thoughts, while the heavy warmth of your blankets keeps you anchored in a state of perfect, blissful stillness. Trust the natural rhythm of the morning to arrive in its own time, and let yourself sink one more time into the deep, healing shadows of this beautiful rest. At 5 o'clock in the morning, the cool grey tone of the bedroom windows begins to flush with the first faint, pale amber strands of dawn. The world of the 1950s is preparing to wake up, but it does so with an exquisite, slow-motion courtesy that is entirely foreign to the frantic buzzers of our modern era. There are no sudden, piercing digital alarms to shock the heart or spike the adrenaline. Instead, the transition from sleep to waking is engineered by nature and the gentle, predictable rhythms of community life. If you were to open your eyes for just a brief moment in this vintage room, you would hear the true acoustic signatures of a mid-century morning down on the asphalt street below. The quiet, rhythmic clinking of thick glass bottles echoes softly through the mist. It is the milkman, executing his daily rounds with practiced quietness, sliding fresh quarts of cream and milk onto the wooden porch steps. Moments later, the light, distinct thud of the morning newspaper hitting the front door adds another soft layer to the neighborhood's awakening symphony. These sounds do not startle the sleeper, rather they act as a deeply comforting reassurance that the world is safe, orderly, and precisely where it belongs. The individual under the heavy quilt simply shifts their weight, burying their cheek a fraction deeper into the cool, smooth cotton of the pillowcase. The skin on the face feels incredibly soft, cool to the touch, and completely free from the puffiness of stress. The long hours of breathing the crisp, open window air have left the lungs feeling light and clean. The body at 5 a.m. is in a state of beautiful, semi-conscious luxury. You are aware that the dark night has passed, yet you are under no obligation to move. The day has not yet demanded your labour, your schedule, or your focus. This is the golden hour of resting for the sheer pleasure of resting, a time when the mind floats in a warm, hazy cloud of contentment, completely detached from the concepts of productivity or time. Let yourself inhabit that serene, half-awake pocket of the 1950s morning right now. Listen to the imagined, distant clink of glass in the dawn light and the soft rustle of the trees outside. Your body remains perfectly heavy, perfectly warm, and entirely unbothered by the approaching day. There is still a beautiful, quiet stretch of time left to simply exist in this peaceful sanctuary. Let your eyelids drift closed once more, sinking back down into the soft, comforting weight of the blankets for a final, delicious taste of pure, unhurried rest. As the clock finally strikes 6 in the morning, the pale amber glow of dawn transforms into a warm golden sunbeam that gently pierces through the edges of the heavy linen drapes. The long journey through the night is complete, and the 1950s bedroom is now fully illuminated by the soft, natural light of a brand new day. There is a beautiful, quiet dignity to this moment. The transition from the deep shadows of midnight to the clarity of morning has happened without a single interruption, allowing the body and mind to complete their full, natural cycle of healing. Inside the bed, the individual begins to stir, not with a sudden jolt of exhaustion, but with a slow, luxurious stretch that extends from the tips of the toes to the ends of the fingers. the physical results of the overnight mid-century rituals are immediately apparent. The face, which was sealed with rich cold creams and pure rosewater hours ago, feels incredibly smooth, plump, and thoroughly hydrated. The skin possesses a natural, healthy rosiness, free from the dullness or tension that comes from a restless night. Even the hair, protected by the silk scarf or the soft satin pillowcase, remains remarkably smooth and manageable, ready for the styling brushes of the day. As the eyes gently open to welcome the morning light, the mind is completely free from the heavy fog of modern mental fatigue. Having spent the night disconnected from any artificial noise or digital clutter, the thoughts are sharp, clear, and filled with a quiet sense of optimism. The body feels genuinely light and vibrant, charged with a fresh supply of oxygen drawn from the crisp open window night air. A person might sit up slowly, resting their back against the headboard, and simply look around the sunlit room. The polished wooden furniture glows warmly in the morning sun, and the clean scent of lavender still lingers faintly in the air. There is a profound feeling of gratitude for this state of total renewal, a recognition that by respecting the body's need for discipline, privacy, and deep rest, they have gained the ultimate foundation for a successful, elegant day ahead. As you look forward to your own morning, let this feeling of pristine vintage vitality settle into your consciousness. Feel the warmth of the sunbeam clearing away the last remnants of sleep, leaving you refreshed, resilient, and perfectly cared for. Your body is strong, your mind is serene, and you are entirely ready to meet the world with a bright, wide-awake spirit. The day is yours to shape, beautiful and completely untouched. The clock now ticks softly to 6:15, and the golden morning light has grown rich enough to illuminate the fine dust motes dancing peacefully in the air. In the 1950s, the first few minutes after opening one's eyes were treated as a critical transition zone. Health columnists and posture experts of the era strongly advised against springing violently out of bed the moment you woke up. Doing so was believed to shock the circulatory system and strain the muscles that had spent hours in a state of deep, limp relaxation. Instead, the mid-century morning began with a beautiful, conscious ritual of physical alignment. Lying flat for one last moment, a person would gently wiggle their toes and fingers, sending the first signal to the nervous system that the long hibernation was over. Then, rolling slowly onto their side, they would use the weight of their arms to push themselves up into a sitting position, resting their feet lightly on the edge of the mattress. Imagine sitting on the edge of that high bed, feeling the cool morning air from the open window touch your warm skin. Before the feet ever touched the floor, a person would slide them into a pair of soft, waiting bedroom slippers, perhaps crafted from pastel satin, with a fluffy marabou trim, or lined with genuine cozy sheepskin. These slippers were not just for comfort, they protected the newly warmed feet from the sudden shocking chill of the polished hardwood floorboards. While sitting there, with the spine naturally lengthening, a few gentle therapeutic movements were performed. A person would slowly roll their shoulders backward in wide, circular motions, releasing the final knots of nighttime stiffness. They would drop their chin to their chest, letting the heavy weight of the head stretch the delicate muscles at the back of the neck before turning the gaze slowly from left to right. This was a process of re-inhabiting the body, ensuring that every joint was properly lubricated and every muscle was aligned before carrying the weight of the day. As you visualize this slow, elegant awakening, feel the perfect balance of calm and vitality entering your own limbs. The daytime world is waiting just beyond the bedroom door, but there is absolutely no rush to meet it. The air is fresh, the muscles are waking up with fluid ease, and the mind remains as serene as a still mountain lake. You are moving forward with intention, grace, and an unbreakable sense of internal peace, ready for the very first step into the new day. By 6:30, the soft golden light has filled every corner of the mid-century home, and the morning routine moves gracefully from the edge of the bed into the pristine tiled sanctuary of the bathroom. In the 1950s, the morning wash or ablution was not a rushed utilitarian chore designed to simply get clean. It was a vitalizing sensory experience, a deliberate method to shock the last remnants of sleep out of the nervous system and bring a radiant, wide-awake energy to the physical frame. Step onto the cool, hexagonal floor tiles and approach the porcelain pedestal sink. The first step in this morning awakening was the application of water, but unlike the warm, steaming draughts of the evening bath, the morning required the bracing clarity of cold water. A person would turn on the heavy chrome faucet, letting the water run until it was thoroughly chilled. Cupping their hands, they would splash the icy water onto their face 5 or 6 times. This simple act was highly recommended by beauty columnists of the era as the ultimate natural skin toner. The cold shock instantly constricted the blood vessels, forcing a rush of fresh oxygenated blood to the surface of the skin, while simultaneously sealing the pores that had spent the night absorbing rich emollient creams. The face was then gently patted dry, never rubbed with a crisp, clean Turkish towel, leaving the complexion looking instantly bright, firm and extraordinarily alive. Next came the invigorating ritual of oral hygiene. A ribbon of white, chalky toothpaste, heavily flavoured with real oil of peppermint or wintergreen, was squeezed onto a natural bristle toothbrush. As they brushed with precise circular motions, the intense, spicy coolness of the mint would fill the mouth, instantly clearing the throat, opening the sinuses, and sending a wave of crisp alertness directly to the brain. It was a clean, sharp sensation that made the breath smell as fresh as the morning air outside. As you picture this refreshing morning wash, feel the imaginary splash of cold water clearing away the last lingering shadows of tiredness from your own eyes. Your skin feels tight, cool, and completely re-energized. Your senses are sharp and clear, and your breath is wonderfully clean. The heavy, warm cocoon of the night has been beautifully shed, replaced by a fresh, vitalizing current of energy that runs through your entire body, making you feel completely prepared and eager to embrace the day. As the clock moves toward 6:45, the final transition of the mid-century morning routine takes place back in the bedroom. With the body washed, the skin glowing with natural vitality, and the senses fully awakened by the sharp scent of peppermint, it is time for the symbolic opening of the day, the ritual drawing back of the heavy window drapes. In the 1950s, this act was viewed as a conscious presentation of oneself to the world, a moment of welcoming the sun and officially setting a cheerful, productive intention for the hours ahead. Step across the floorboards, feeling the firm, grounding stability of the house beneath your slippers. Reach for the thick woven fabric of the curtains, perhaps a rich, textured damask or a heavy cotton bark cloth, and with a smooth, deliberate pull, slide them apart along the brass rod. The effect is immediate and spectacular. The full, unrestricted glory of the early morning sun floods into the room, instantly chasing away the remaining long shadows of the night and washing every surface in a warm, buttery golden light. Leaning slightly out of the open window frame, you are met with the breathtaking sight of the world at dawn. The backyard garden is completely covered in a blanket of thick, diamond-like dew, with tiny beads of water clinging to the petals of the red roses and the fresh green leaves of the hedges. The air entering your lungs is incredibly crisp and cool, carrying the sharp, sweet scent of damp earth, cut grass, and the faint, comforting aroma of a neighbour's morning coffee beginning to brew down the street. Standing there in the full warmth of the sunbeam, take a deep, expansive breath. Feel the sunlight hitting your face, warming the skin that was just cooled by the morning wash, creating a beautiful balance of temperature. This moment is entirely yours, a quiet, powerful pause before the social and domestic duties of the day begin. There is an overwhelming sense of order, clarity, and deep optimism in this light. You are not rushing into the day out of breath and stressed. You are stepping into it with grace, alignment, and an unshakable inner calm. As you absorb this vintage morning radiance into your own space, let it fill you with a clean, vibrant energy. The night has done its healing work, your body is completely restored, and a beautiful, untouched canvas of a new day lies directly before you. You are centered, You are strong, and you are ready to move forward with a bright, open heart. At exactly 7 o'clock, the soft chime of the living room clock signals the transition into the heart of the mid-century home, the sun-drenched, cheerful kitchen. Walking down the stairs, your slippers making a faint, comforting scuff against the polished wood, you enter a space that smells faintly of yesterday's baked bread and clean linoleum. The morning sun streams through the checkered gingham curtains, painting bright squares of yellow across the formica countertops and the shiny chrome fixtures. Before any heavy food or rich black coffee is prepared, the 1950s health philosophy dictates a crucial internal cleansing ritual. This was the preparation of the morning elixir, a simple, elegant glass of warm water infused with the juice of a freshly sliced lemon. In an era that highly valued internal hygiene as the true foundation for a blemish-free complexion and high daytime vitality, this drink was considered an absolute necessity to wake up the liver, flush out the overnight metabolic waste, and balance the body's chemistry. Imagine standing by the stove as the vintage enamel kettle begins to let out a low, polite hiss. You turn the dial, silencing the flame, and pour the steaming water into a thick glass, letting it cool down to a comfortable skin-warm temperature. Taking a bright yellow lemon from the ceramic fruit bowl, you slice it cleanly in half with a small wooden-handled knife, releasing a sharp, bright burst of citrus oils into the warm kitchen air. As you squeeze the fruit, watching the cloudy, vitamin-rich juice cloud the clear water, the crisp, clean scent instantly sharpens your mental focus. Holding the warm glass between both hands, you take the first slow, deliberate sip. The taste is tart but incredibly clean, sending a gentle, warming wake-up call throughout your entire digestive tract. It feels as though the last clinging cobwebs of nighttime hibernation are being gently washed away from the inside out. Sitting down at the small kitchen table, bathed in the morning warmth, you enjoy this quiet, solitary ritual. There is no rush, no morning news broadcast blaring, just the peaceful sound of the birds outside and the clean, invigorating taste of your morning water. With every sip, you can feel your body absorbing this pure hydration, lighting up your energy from within and setting a tone of pristine, healthy vitality for the beautiful day that is now unfolding. The clock shifts to 15 minutes past 7, and with the internal system fully hydrated and refreshed by the citrus elixir, it is time to return to the bedroom dresser for the final act of personal preparation, the ritual of morning dress and posture alignment. In the 1950s, the way a person presented themselves to the world was considered an outer reflection of their inner discipline and self-respect. Getting dressed was never a thoughtless, chaotic scramble. It was an organized, almost meditative process of building a confident, dignified persona for the day ahead. Open the heavy cedar wardrobe doors, releasing that dry, protective fragrance of natural wood into the sunlit room. Hanging neatly inside are the garments selected and meticulously pressed with a steam iron the previous evening, perhaps a crisp, starched white cotton blouse, a tailored wool trousers, or a perfectly pleated A-line skirt. Slipping into these clean, structured fabrics instantly alters how the body feels. The crispness of the textiles against the skin provides a subtle physical reminder that the unstructured relaxation of the night is over, replaced by the purposeful form of the day. Standing before the full-length mirror attached to the wardrobe door, a person would engage in what the era's etiquette and charm schools called the daily posture audit. Before a single button was fastened, you would plant your feet firmly on the floor, lift your ribs away from your hips, and roll your shoulders back until the shoulder blades sat flat against the upper back. The chin was lifted until it was perfectly parallel to the floor, instantly lengthening the back of the neck and creating an elegant, commanding silhouette. Look at your reflection in the warm morning light as you adjust the collar, smooth down the fabric over the waist, and use a stiff bristled brush to give your hair its final glossy shape. You are not just grooming your appearance, you are centering your mind. In the 1950s philosophy, a straight spine and a clean, well-fitted outfit were the ultimate armor against the uncertainties of life, giving an individual the poise to handle any situation with calmness and grace. Feel that sense of structured alignment taking root in your own posture right now. You are no longer reclining, you are standing tall, fully inhabited, and beautifully composed. The fabric feels smooth, the lines are clean, and your reflection shows a person who is completely in control of their own energy. With your mind sharp and your body perfectly aligned, you are now ready to take the final steps toward the outer world, carrying the deep, quiet confidence of this vintage morning with you. At 7:30, the rich, unmistakable aroma of freshly perked coffee and warm buttered toast drifts up from the kitchen, signaling the arrival of the morning's final comforting ritual, the nourishing breakfast. In the 1950s, breakfast was never an afterthought, never something eaten standing up over the sink or rushed through while running for a bus. It was treated as a vital, stabilizing anchor for the entire day, a designated golden window where the body was fully fueled and the mind was allowed to sit in quiet, unhurried contemplation before the external world claimed its attention. Step into the breakfast nook where the morning sun is now high enough to cast long, cheerful beams across the table, making the polished silver spoons and white ceramic plates gleam with a clean, inviting light. Sitting down in the sturdy wooden chair, you are presented with a meal crafted from simple whole ingredients, 2 perfectly poached or sunny-side-up eggs with bright golden yolks, a few slices of thick artisan bread toasted to a crisp amber brown, and a small pat of fresh dairy butter melting into the warm crevices of the crust. Beside the plate sits a steaming cup of coffee or dark tea, its rich vapour rising slowly in the sunlit air. As you take your first sip, feeling the deep, robust warmth spread through your chest, you realize there is an extraordinary peace in this slow pace. There are no buzzing screens on the table, no urgent headlines flashing every second, and no digital reminders ticking down the minutes. The only sounds are the gentle clink of a fork against porcelain, the soft crunch of toast, and the cheerful chirping of the neighborhood birds outside the open window. This meal is the culmination of your entire journey through the night. The deep, restorative sleep has repaired your body, the morning wash has awakened your senses, the posture audit has aligned your spine, and now this warm, balanced food is providing the raw, clean energy your cells need to sustain that pristine vitality for hours to come. You are chewing slowly, tasting every flavor, and breathing deeply, fully present in the luxury of this quiet hour. As you sit in this imaginary mid-century morning, feel the profound sense of security and readiness that fills your entire being. Your stomach is warm and satisfied, your mind is beautifully calm yet completely alert, and your spirit is grounded in a sense of timeless order. You have given your body the ultimate gift of care, discipline, and respect. You are no longer just entering a new day, basking in this golden morning light. You are preparing to conquer it with absolute elegance, strength, and grace. The clock now points to 7:15, and the golden morning sun has climbed high enough to dry the dew from the top leaves of the garden hedges. The long, continuous cycle of rest, awakening, and personal alignment is complete. The house is now filled with the gentle, rhythmic hum of daytime readiness, and the moment has arrived to cross the ultimate boundary, the front door threshold that separates this peaceful vintage sanctuary from the active world outside. Standing in the front hallway, you pick up your neatly packed leather briefcase or structured handbag from the telephone bench. There is a satisfying tactile weight to these objects, a small physical reminder of purpose and capability. You check your pocket for the heavy brass house key, feeling its cool, solid surface against your palm. Every movement is done with intention. There is no frantic checking of pockets, no slamming of drawers, and no breathless rushing. The deep calm cultivated during the silent midnight hours still rules your movements. Before reaching for the brass doorknob, you pause for one final powerful moment of stillness. You look back at the long hallway where the sunbeams paint warm geometric patterns on the polished floorboards, and the faint, sweet scent of lavender and morning coffee still hangs in the air. You take one last expansive breath of this clean, indoor shelter, letting it fill the very bottom of your lungs, anchoring your centre of gravity firmly within yourself. In the 1950s philosophy of living, this threshold pause was where you decided how you would let the world treat you, by refusing to rush, by keeping your shoulders back and your breath deep. You ensure that you're not entering the day as a victim of its chaotic demands, but as a composed, dignified force of nature. You are entirely in control of your own nervous system. Now, with a smooth, deliberate motion, you turn the heavy brass handle and push the front door open. A wave of warm, fresh morning air washes over your face, carrying the lively, symphonic sounds of the neighbourhood, the distant murmur of cars, the laughter of children walking to school, and the rustle of the wind through the tall elm trees. As your polished shoe takes that very first step onto the concrete porch, feel the incredible fusion of deep overnight rest and bright, waking power flowing through your veins. You are stepping out, but you are carrying the sanctuary with you. At exactly 8 o'clock in the morning, the transition into the public sphere is fully realised. Whether walking along the sun-dappled concrete pavements of a tree-lined suburban street or sitting comfortably by the open window of a vintage steel transit bus, the mid-century commute was handled with the very same deliberate poise that governed the home. In the 1950s, this travel time was not viewed as a stressful lost void of traffic jams and road rage, but as an elegant prelude to the day's labour, a moving meditation where one gently adjusted their internal peace to sync with the collective energy of the community. As you move through the crisp morning air, there are no digital screens to consume your attention, no earphones isolating you from the environment, and no algorithmic alerts pulling your mind away from the present moment. Instead, your senses remain fully open and beautifully engaged with the physical world. You notice the vibrant green of the manicured lawns, the clean white paint of the picket fences, and the way the golden sunlight catches the chrome bumpers of the passing sedans, casting bright, dancing reflections onto the storefront windows. When passing a neighbour sweeping their front porch or greeting the local shopkeeper rolling out their canvas awning, you offer a genuine, unhurried nod and a warm, pleasant smile. This small social exchange is effortless because your reservoir of patience was thoroughly filled during the quiet hours of the night. Having taken the time to properly rest your body and align your spirit, you possess an abundance of positive energy, a steady, clean aura of grace and refinement that naturally radiates outward, lifting the mood of everyone you cross paths with. Sitting back against the smooth bench seat as the vehicle rolls rhythmically toward the city centre, you let your hands rest loosely in your lap. The cool breeze from the window ripples gently against your pressed collar, carrying the faint, fresh scent of the morning air mixed with the clean undertones of your shaving soap or floral cologne. You feel entirely grounded, remarkably strong, and completely unshakable. The long journey that began in the dark, silent chambers of midnight has brought you here, vibrant, focused, and beautifully prepared. As the urban skyline comes into view, glowing brightly under the clear, expansive morning sky, you step forward into your responsibilities not with fatigue, but with a profound, timeless confidence. You are fully awake, beautifully aligned, and ready to leave your own elegant mark upon the world. At 8:15, the journey transitions from the moving currents of the morning commute into the stationary, purposeful environment of the workspace. In the 1950s, arriving at one's desk or station was treated with the same meticulous choreography as the domestic rituals left behind. The modern practice of rushing into an office, throwing down a bag, and immediately reacting to a flood of digital alerts was entirely non-existent. Instead, professionals understood that the first 10 minutes spent inside the workplace established the mental landscape for the entire 8 hours of labour that followed. As you step across the threshold of the office or studio, the sensory environment is defined by solid, analogue permanence. The floor is covered in thick, dark linoleum, or polished terrazzo that echoes softly with the measured rhythm of leather-soled shoes. The air smells of rich fountain pen, ink, heavy paper stock, and the dry, warm scent of the central heating pipes. Sunbeams stream through the large industrial windows, cutting sharp angles of light across rows of dark green steel or heavy oak desks. Approaching your desk, you do not immediately sit down to submerge yourself in tasks. You stand for a moment, deliberately placing your leather briefcase on the side credenza. With a clean cotton handkerchief, you might perform a brief, satisfying ritual of order, wiping away a microscopic layer of overnight dust from the green blotter pad, ensuring the heavy crystal inkwell is perfectly centered, and arranging your freshly sharpened yellow pencils in a neat, parallel line. Finally, you remove your personal watch, perhaps a mechanical silver pocket watch or a gold-plated wristwatch, and lay it face up on the corner of the desk. This act is not about chasing deadlines, it is an assertion of mastery over time. You're choosing to track the hours with discipline, refusing to let the day scatter your focus or fracture your internal alignment. Taking your seat in the sturdy, low-backed swivel chair, you roll your shoulders back, feeling the alignment of your spine supporting your frame. Before opening the first manila folder or lifting the heavy black Bakelite telephone receiver, you close your eyes for 3 seconds and take one deep, clean breath. The sanctuary of the night and the vitality of the morning are now safely locked inside your consciousness. You are fully present, beautifully organized, and completely equipped to convert this quiet, structured energy into masterful, focused achievement. As the clock strikes 9, the workspace settles into its grand collective cadence of deep, uninterrupted labor. In the mid-20th century, this hour marked the true commencement of professional focus, but it was a focus characterized by an extraordinary, single-tasking density that has been largely lost in the digital age. There are no cascading tabs open on a screen, no instant messaging channels vibrating on a phone, and no constant ping of emails disrupting the brain's cognitive synthesis. The mind is permitted to do what it does best, dive deeply into one problem at a time, exploring its depths without fear of sudden interruption. If you were to observe this vintage office now, you would hear a mechanical symphony of focused human effort. It is the steady, rhythmic clack, clack, clack of a heavy Remington typewriter, followed by the crisp, metallic ping of the carriage return. Near the window, someone is reviewing a large blueprint, the thick paper rustling softly as it is turned. At your own desk, your hand guides a heavy fountain pen across the creamy surface of a ledger book. The soft, satisfying scratch of the gold nib depositing liquid blue ink onto the paper is the only sound accompanying your thoughts. This lack of digital clutter creates a profound psychological phenomenon, the unfragmented mind. When a 1950s professional sat down to write a report, analyze a balance sheet, or design an architectural drawing, they stayed with that task for hours. The brain enters a beautiful, flowing state of alpha waves, where problem-solving becomes an elegant, organic progression rather than a stressful race against a ticking clock. The internal nervous system remains as cool and unbothered as it was during the early morning wash. Your posture remains perfectly supported by your chair, the spine straight, the breath slow and even. You are not multitasking, you are creating. Every thought is whole, every decision is weighted with deliberate consideration, and every action is clean. The energy you preserved through the disciplined silence of the night is now being expended with beautiful efficiency. Feel the immense relief of this single-focused universe. Imagine your modern anxieties melting away as you allow yourself to focus on just one thing, right here, right now. The air is quiet, your materials are physical and real, and your mind is completely whole. You are moving through your work with absolute clarity, absolute mastery, and a calm, quiet power that turns labor into a form of art. When the hands of the mechanical wall clock slowly converge at 10:30, a universal hush and a shift in collective movement sweep through the mid-century office floor. This is the hour of the traditional mid-morning coffee break, a short 15-minute window of time that was protected by both corporate custom and social etiquette with an almost religious reverence. In our contemporary fast-paced world, A break is rarely a break. It is often just a change of posture where we stay glued to our desks while shifting our eyes from a laptop monitor to a smaller smartphone screen, continuously consuming information. But in the mid-1950s, this interval was treated as a genuine psychological reset, a vital clearing of the mental chalkboard designed to preserve the human nervous system from the friction of overexhaustion. As the designated bell chimes or the office manager gives a pleasant, casual nod, chairs slide back across the polished linoleum floors with a series of dull, satisfying hums. Professionals do not linger at their desks. They actively step away from their half-finished ledgers, their half-typed memos, and their stacks of manila folders. There is a beautiful, unhurried liberation in this physical departure. You leave your fountain pen resting safely on its brass stand, your desk blotter entirely bare of current work, signaling to your brain that for the next 15 minutes your professional responsibilities have ceased to exist. Walking down the wide, sun-drenched hallway toward the communal break room or the open-air stone balcony, you can already smell the rich, comforting fragrance of fresh coffee drifting through the air. This is not the scent of modern chemical-infused instant pods, but the deep, robust, and slightly smoky aroma of real coffee beans ground by hand and brewed in a heavy stainless steel percolator. The break room itself is bathed in a warm, buttery light from the high windows, featuring small round tables topped with clean formica and surrounded by cheerful, lightweight vinyl chairs. Standing by the counter, you pick up a thick, heavy ceramic mug painted in a soft pastel green or a cheerful cream colour and pour the steaming dark liquid, adding perhaps a single sugar cube from a glass bowl and a splash of rich, whole cream from a small porcelain pitcher. The tactile experience of holding that heavy, warm mug between your palms provides an immediate sense of grounding. The heat radiates through your fingers, relaxing the small muscles that have spent the last hour and a half tightly gripping pencils or tapping away at typewriter keys. Because there are no digital devices to distract the eyes or isolate the individual, the break room naturally transforms into a lively, warm theatre of face-to-face human connection. People stand in small, relaxed clusters, their postures loose and comfortable. Conversations flow easily, characterized by a distinct lack of urgency or competitive tension. You discuss the latest baseball scores from the weekend, a recipe for a lemon chiffon pie printed in the evening paper, or the progress of the neighborhood rose gardens under the gentle spring rain. Laughter is frequent, genuine, and unforced, a light, musical sound that echoes softly against the tiled walls. This socialization is not a waste of time. It is a profound exercise in emotional restoration. By looking directly into the eyes of your colleagues, listening to the natural cadence of their voices, and sharing a simple, light-hearted moment of companionship, you are reinforcing the invisible social threads that make a workplace feel safe, cooperative, and human. The mind is allowed to rest deeply because it is not being forced to process complex data or respond to urgent demands. It is simply enjoying the pure restorative pleasure of community. As you stand there by the open balcony window, taking a slow, appreciative sip of your warm coffee, you look out at the cityscape below. The morning traffic flows smoothly, the sun is shining brightly on the chrome details of the cars, and a gentle breeze lifts the curtains around you. You take a deep, satisfying breath, feeling the rich flavour of the coffee warm your chest and the cheerful energy of the room recharge your spirit. You are not a machine being pushed to its breaking point. You are a human being moving through a beautifully structured day with absolute dignity, grace, and an unbreakable sense of internal peace. When the 15 minutes draw to a close, you will return to your desk not with a sense of dread, but with a cleared mind, a lighter heart, and a fresh reservoir of focused vitality ready to be poured into the next segment of your craft. Returning to the wooden desk at 11:15, the transition from the light-hearted camaraderie of the coffee break back into the realm of deep execution is seamless, deliberate, and entirely devoid of friction. In the mid-20th century, this specific block of time leading up to the stroke of noon was universally recognized as the absolute intellectual peak of the working day. The human biology, thoroughly rested by the pristine sleep of the night before, activated by the brisk morning wash, and freshly sustained by the rich nutrients of a whole food breakfast and a warming cup of coffee, is now operating at its highest metabolic and cognitive efficiency. As you settle back into the supportive contours of your office chair, you notice that the quality of your focus has changed. It has become sharper, more crystallized, and intensely grounded. The pleasant chatter of the break room fades into a quiet, distant echo as your mind re-enters its private sanctuary of analytical thought. There is no lingering hesitation, no standard modern procrastination driven by a depleted attention span. You pick up your heavy fountain pen with a firm, confident grip, slide a fresh sheet of thick-lined ledger paper onto the green blotter pad, and begin to tackle the most complex, demanding puzzle of your entire daily schedule. The physical environment of the office during this late morning peak is a testament to the beauty of quiet, analog industry. The sun has climbed high into the sky, casting brilliant solid sheets of bright golden light through the expansive glass windows, illuminating every corner of the room with an almost clinical clarity. In this light, you can see the steady, methodical movements of your colleagues across the floor. To your left, a senior clerk is cross-referencing a stack of heavy paper invoices, his fingers moving with fluid, practiced precision across the keys of a mechanical adding machine. The sharp, rhythmic ka-chunk of the metal gears turning inside the machine creates a steady, percussive undercurrent that acts almost like a metronome for your own concentration. Across the aisle, a young woman is drafting an executive brief on an imperial typewriter, her fingers flying across the keys in a continuous, unbroken cadence that sounds like rain falling on a tin roof. Everyone is working independently, yet there is an invisible, powerful sense of collective harmony that binds the room together. There is no frantic shouting, no sudden crises erupted by an unexpected digital notification, and no frantic rushing from one half-baked task to another. The entire organization moves forward like a finely crafted Swiss watch, driven by the quiet, unstoppable momentum of human beings doing one single thing beautifully and correctly. Submerged in this deep flow of productivity, your analytical mind operates with an extraordinary, effortless clarity. When you read a line of figures or draft a sentence of a legal contract, your brain processes the information completely on the first pass. You are not skimming, you're absorbing. The absence of blinking screens and digital noise allows your short-term memory to function without being constantly overloaded or fractured. Your thoughts move in long, elegant, and logical chains, allowing you to see patterns, solve structural problems, and make executive decisions with an unshakable sense of inner confidence. Your physical body remains perfectly relaxed despite the intensity of your mental labor. Your shoulders are dropped and loose. Your breathing remains slow, deep, and rhythmic, expanding your chest with the clean, fresh air that circulates through the well-ventilated room. There is absolutely no physical tension held in your jaw or your neck, because you are not racing against an artificial anxiety-inducing deadline. You are simply respecting the natural rhythm of your craft, giving it the full, undivided measure of your human capability. As the minutes tick steadily toward 12 o'clock, look down at the work you have accomplished during this golden hour of execution. The pages before you are filled with neat, orderly columns of blue ink or rows of perfectly struck typewritten letters, permanent, physical evidence of your focused intellect. There is a deep, profound sense of professional pride and emotional security that comes from knowing you have spent your morning energy with absolute efficiency and purpose. You have honored the capacity of your mind, protected your nervous system from the destructive chaos of multitasking, and maintained your internal alignment perfectly. The day is half won, not through brute force or stressful exhaustion, but through the calm, graceful application of a beautifully rested spirit. Exactly at 12 o'clock, the solemn, crystalline chime of the grandfather clock in the main lobby vibrates through the heavy wooden walls of the office. accompanied immediately after by the distant resonant whistle of the downtown factory line. In the mid-1950s, the stroke of noon was not a vague, ignored marker on a digital calendar. It was an absolute, authoritative boundary line that split the day cleanly in two. There was no modern habit of working through lunch, no lingering at the desk to send just one more urgent email, and no squeezing out an extra 10 minutes of anxious productivity at the expense of physical health. The culture held a deep, unshakable respect for the natural limits of human energy, recognizing that a mind pushed past its expiration point without proper sustenance would inevitably lose its edge, its precision, and its grace. The moment the final chime echoes away, a beautiful, simultaneous cessation of labor takes place across the entire floor. The mechanical symphony that filled the late morning hours comes to a satisfying structured halt. The sharp clack-clack of the typewriters softens into silence as the secretaries gently slide the heavy black carriages to the center and place the dust covers over the keys. Across the aisle, senior accountants slide their heavy fountain pens into their velvet-lined desk trays, fastening the screw-on caps with a deliberate metallic twist that sounds like a tiny punctuation mark at the end of a successful morning chapter. You look down at your own desk, where the ink on your final sentence has just dried into a rich, permanent midnight blue. Following the elegant discipline of the era, you do not leave your workspace in a state of chaotic disarray. You spend 2 minutes carefully closing the heavy leather ledgers, organizing the loose manila folders into a neat, right-angled stack, and placing a heavy green glass paperweight over your active correspondence. By clearing your physical desktop, you are effectively clearing your mental desktop as well, locking your professional responsibilities safely inside the drawers of your desk so that your subconscious mind is entirely liberated to enjoy the hour of rest that lies ahead. Standing up from your swivel chair, you indulge in a deep, expansive stretch that feels incredibly restorative to the spine. You raise your arms high toward the sun-drenched ceiling, feeling the long, straight alignment you maintained all morning translate into a fluid, comfortable flexibility. Your muscles are not locked in the tight, painful knots typical of modern postural fatigue because your focus was serene and your breathing remained deep and oxygen-rich. As you roll your shoulders back and adjust the smooth fabric of your vest or blouse, a profound wave of physical and mental relief washes over your entire system. The first half of the day has been executed with absolute honor and meticulous care. Your duties have been met, and your internal bank of vitality remains balanced and secure. Looking toward the high windows, you see that the outside world is bathed in the brilliant high noon sun, which transforms the city streets into a lively, inviting stage of movement. People are pouring out of the limestone buildings in neat, cheerful groups, their voices mingling into a warm, humming tapestry of community life. The air that drifts through the transom windows smells of warm stone, fresh pavement, and the mouth-watering savoury aromas of grilled sandwiches, rich stews and hot soups drifting from the local diners and bistros just down the block. There is an incredible, childlike freedom in this midday transition. You slip your pocket watch into your vest pocket or check the neat gold band on your wrist, knowing that for the next 60 minutes, your time belongs entirely to the care and feeding of your physical frame and your social spirit. You walk toward the coat rack with a light, rhythmic step, completely unburdened by the ghost of unfinished tasks, ready to step out into the warm noon light and enjoy the simple, timeless luxury of a proper, unhurried lunch. Stepping out onto the sun-drenched concrete sidewalk at 12:15, the transition into the vibrant tapestry of midday life is immediate and refreshing. In the mid-1950s, the lunch hour was a sacred cultural institution, a structured pause designed to completely remove an individual from the high-minded pressures of the corporate grind and submerge them in the grounding, earthly pleasures of good food and sensory relaxation. Walking down the bustling street, your leather shoes clicking rhythmically against the warm pavement, you blend into a sea of impeccably dressed citizens. Men in crisp fedoras and tailored summer suits, women in vibrant cotton shirtwaist dresses, all moving with a shared, unhurried purpose toward their favorite neighborhood lunch spots. You turn the corner and enter a classic corner diner, its wide chrome-bordered glass windows reflecting the high golden noon sun. As the heavy door swings open, a small brass bell chiming merrily above your head. You are instantly wrapped in a warm, comforting blanket of domestic sensory delights. The air is rich and heavy with the mouth-watering aromas of sizzling bacon on the flat-top grill, thick potato soup simmering in stainless steel pots, and the sharp, clean scent of freshly cut lemons for the iced tea. The interior is a beautiful symphony of mid-century design, a long, gleaming counter lined with polished chrome swivel stools, cozy booths upholstered in deep red vinyl, and a jukebox softly playing a gentle crooning melody by Nat King Cole in the background. Sliding into a booth by the window, the smooth vinyl feels cool and supportive against your back. You lay your hat or handbag neatly on the seat beside you, fully expanding your physical presence into this temporary sanctuary of rest. Within moments, a friendly waitress in a spotless white apron greets you with a warm, genuine smile, pouring a glass of ice-cold water into a heavy, faceted tumblers. There is no digital menu to scan with a device. Instead, you look at a simple printed cardboard card, selecting a classic comfort meal, a bowl of homemade chicken noodle soup, and a layered club sandwich on toasted rye, accompanied by a tall glass of fresh lemonade. When the food arrives, arranged beautifully on heavy, thick-rimmed porcelain diner plates, you do not immediately dive in while simultaneously checking a screen or reviewing a document. In the philosophy of the era, the act of eating demanded your absolute undivided presence. You lift the heavy silver spoon, blowing gently on the steaming golden broth before taking your first sip. The rich, savoury flavour coats your palate, immediately sending a wave of deeply satisfying warmth through your chest, relaxing the final hidden micro-tensions in your stomach. You follow it with a bite of the crisp, layered sandwich, tasting the perfect balance of smoky ham, fresh garden tomatoes and creamy mayonnaise. Because your eyes and hands are completely untethered from any technological distractions, your mind is free to engage in the beautiful forgotten art of environmental observation. As you chew slowly, honouring the digestive process, you look through the clean glass window at the street scene outside. You watch a sleek, two-tone Chevrolet sedan glide smoothly past the intersection, its chrome details flashing in the sunlight. You observe a postal carrier in a neat blue uniform dropping letters into a brass wall box, and a group of shop girls sharing a bag of roasted nuts on a green wooden bench, their laughter soundless but clear behind the glass. Every details of the physical world appears remarkably sharp, vivid and deeply interesting when you are not constantly filtering reality through a digital lens. If a fellow professional or a regular patron catches your eye from across the counter, you exchange a polite, respectful nod, a silent acknowledgement of shared humanity and mutual order. There is no pressure to engage in deep, exhaustive conversation. The atmosphere allows for a quiet, comfortable solitude that feels deeply protective of your inner peace. Finishing the last sip of your cool lemonade, you sit back in the booth for a few minutes, allowing the deep, nourishing satisfaction of the meal to settle into your system. Your physical body feels thoroughly replenished, your energy levels balanced by whole, real ingredients, and your mind beautifully cleared of the morning's analytical challenges. By dedicating this hour entirely to the simple, elegant maintenance of your biological and mental frame, you have successfully transformed a routine break into a profound act of self-care. As you prepare to lay down a silver coin for the bill and step back into the warm afternoon, you carry within yourself an unbreakable foundation of calm stability, ready to face the second half of the day with absolute grace, vitality, and sophisticated ease. At 1:45, as you step out of the comforting warmth of the diner and back onto the sun-washed pavement, you do not immediately head back to freeze yourself in the indoor workspace. Following the elegant and sensible health philosophies of the mid-20th century, the 15 minutes remaining in the lunch hour were designated for a highly beneficial physical habit, the post-lunch stroll. Posture coaches, workplace efficiency experts, and medical doctors of the 1950s frequently wrote columns emphasizing that sitting down at a desk immediately after consuming a heavy meal was a direct path to digestive stagnation, mental fog, and that notorious mid-afternoon fatigue that breaks a professional's grace. Instead, a brief leisurely walk under the open sky was considered the ultimate natural remedy to keep the blood circulating smoothly, assist the stomach in its chemical work, and gently transition the brain from the deep relaxation of the lunch hour back into a state of crisp, proactive alertness. Imagine turning away from the heavier traffic of the commercial district and entering a small, neat municipal park nestled between the limestone office towers. The transition is immediate and soothing. The hard, grey concrete pavement gives way to a smooth, red brick path that winds gracefully beneath a canopy of mature elm and maple trees. The high midday sun filters down through the thick canopy of vibrant green leaves, casting soft, shifting patterns of light and shadow across the ground, making the entire park feel like a cool, sheltered oasis in the heart of the busy city. You walk at a deliberately measured, unhurried pace, hands resting loosely in your pockets or holding your briefcase with a light, easy grip. There is absolutely no urge to power walk or turn this into an intense, stressful exercise routine. Your stride is fluid, rhythmic, and perfectly aligned, with your spine naturally erect and your chest expanded, drawing in deep, satisfying lungfuls of the fresh afternoon air. The gentle breeze moving through the park carries a delightful, clean fragrance, a mixture of rich, damp earth from the neatly edged flower beds, the sweet scent of blooming white hydrangeas, and the crisp, watery coolness from a central stone fountain. As you pass the fountain, watching the sparkling plumes of water rise and fall in the sunshine, the soft rushing sound of the spray completely drowns out the distant rumble of city traffic. This auditory wash creates a beautiful empty space in your mind. Without a digital screen to look at, your eyes naturally wander over the simple, timeless details of the environment. You see an elderly gentleman sitting on a dark green wooden bench, carefully scattering breadcrumbs for a cluster of grey pigeons. You observe two young mothers pushing classic, high-wheeled wicker perambulators, chatting softly while their infants sleep soundly beneath linen sunshades. These peaceful vignettes of ordinary community life provide a deep sense of social stability and emotional comfort, reassuring you that the world is in perfect, harmonious order. This brief exposure to the natural world acts as a magnificent biological reset button. The physical movement of your legs gently stimulates your core, allowing your lunch to digest with perfect ease, while the natural sunlight hitting your eyes signals your brain to suppress the production of sleep hormones. The slight heavy sluggishness that usually follows a meal is completely dissolved, replaced instead by a clean, pure, and sustainable current of physical vitality. You can feel your mental faculties sharpening with every step you take along the brick path, your thoughts becoming as bright and unclouded as the blue sky above the tree line. As the park path circles back toward the entrance of your office building, you check your wristwatch to find it is exactly 1 o'clock. You step back across the polished terrazzo threshold of the lobby, not as a fatigued, dragging employee dreading the remaining hours of the shift, but as a fully restored, deeply centered professional. Your body is light, nourished, and free of tension. Your mind is clear, focused, and beautifully balanced. By honoring this simple, traditional transition ritual, you have successfully built a protective fortress around your inner peace, and you are now perfectly prepared to step into the afternoon session with absolute dignity, precision, and an unshakable sense of graceful power. As the high afternoon sun gradually softens into a deep, amber gold horizon, the day gently circles back toward its starting point, bringing this grand exploration of mid-century living to a beautifully complete, restorative finish. By 5 o'clock, the office files are slid back into their steel cabinets, the typewriter keys are put to rest under their canvas covers, and the collective rush of the working world melts away into the warm, inviting embrace of the evening. The return journey home is not filled with the modern anxiety of catching up on missed digital notifications. It is an unhurried, peaceful migration toward the ultimate sanctuary, the family hearth. Step once more through your own front door as the early evening shadows lengthen across the polished living room floorboards. The house welcomes you with a familiar, soothing scent of lavender polish, fresh paper, and a comforting dinner slowly simmering on the stove. Sitting down at the dinner table with loved ones, sharing real conversations and passing heavy porcelain dishes without a single electronic distraction, creates the final vital anchor for the day. This is the reward for a day lived with absolute intention, discipline, and self-respect. Looking back across this entire journey, from the deep, silent chambers of the midnight sleep to the brisk awakening splashes of the morning water, from the structured, single-tasking focus of the office desk to the sun-dappled, peaceful paths of the post-lunch stroll, we discover a timeless blueprint for human well-being. The men and women of the 1950s understood a profound secret that the modern world has largely forgotten: that life is not a frantic, breathless race to be optimized, but a beautiful, rhythmic symphony to be thoroughly tasted, honored, and felt. By treating their time as sacred, protecting their nervous systems from chaotic clutter, and keeping their postures tall and their breathing deep, they achieved an enviable state of permanent grace and unshakable inner peace. Now, as the velvet blue curtain of night falls completely over the outside world, the lamps are turned off one by one, leaving only the soft silver glow of the moon filtering through the bedroom curtains. You slide back beneath the fresh, clean sheets, feeling your muscles completely heavy, loose and utterly relaxed. Your mind is beautifully empty, completely satisfied with the honest labor and simple joys of the day that has passed. There is nothing left to check, nothing left to do, and nowhere else to be. You have cared for your body, guarded your soul, and lived with absolute dignity. As your eyes slowly close and your breathing slows into a long, rhythmic cadence, you let yourself sink into the soft, weightless dark, completely secure in the knowledge that you are beautifully aligned, perfectly whole, and fundamentally at peace with the world. Good night, and may your own spirit always carry the timeless, elegant calm of this vintage sanctuary. Sleepy History with Benedict is created for relaxation, entertainment, and sleep purposes. The stories shared on this channel are inspired by historical events, daily life, and real periods in history, but they may be simplified, adapted, or narrated in a calming way to enhance the listening experience. This content is not intended to be a precise academic or educational source. While we aim to stay generally accurate, some details may be altered for storytelling flow and relaxation. Please do not rely on this channel as a primary source for historical research or study. By listening, you acknowledge that this content is designed to help you unwind, relax, and fall asleep. Thank you for your understanding and support.